All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen, and I am once again joined by the illustrious Ultra David and even more illustrious Tubaware. How you guys doing?
I'm doing excellently. I was just in the lab with Iron Taker. Quick opinion: Iron Taker, the coolest or the sickest? Go.
Bitch
Uh,
ass bitch Iron Taker.
Look, as a Grappler fan, Tager is actually probably on the lower end of grapplers that I enjoy.
Unbelievable. Actually, cannot believe it. Anyway, how about
He's
you tell
just,
me
I don't
what's
know.
good with you?
He's just, I don't like his animation. I don't think his
Can't believe
design,
it.
and I don't think the.
As a grappler fan, I think it's cool that he was the first grappler to turn grappling on its head and
Yo,
make
come
the
on. Come
opponent
on.
come to him.
Come
But
on.
also, he's a bitch ass bitch.
I just think the magnet
Anyway,
functionality could have been better designed. That's all. So it's like it sounded so cool on paper, and I felt like the way it was actually implemented didn't quite turn out as neat as I thought it was going to. So
well, it's going to be a tough show if it continues like this. That's for sure. Let's get into the topics here. We have CEO. We'll be talking about that. It was this past weekend. We have big news that we're going to get to about Blaze Blue, hence us talking about Blaze Blue, as well as Baikan and other characters too. We have an interview with KingHippo that I'm very much looking forward to. We have some fun 5-5 matchup topics. There are other characters and games to discuss. There's some other news to discuss as well. But let's start by talking about CEO 2021. Again, this past weekend in Orlando, Florida.
that's right. So first offline event of this caliber in a long time. CEO 2021 took place this last weekend in Orlando. And yeah, what were you? I mean, there's a lot to talk about here, so let's
Yeah,
just
just
go.
as a setup, there hasn't been a CEO since CEO 2019, so that's 2.5 years ago. And more than
Change
that,
timer.
the timer
Oh,
has
the
begun,
timer
yes.
has not been updated.
There have been offline events. We've talked about some of them. First Attack
Yeah.
happened, NEC happened, like there have been things KIT. Some stuff has occurred. But this is definitely the biggest thing that's happened in the FGC proper. And as far as like this size of event, yeah, the last time that you could say that it happened in like the FGC proper is, it's not 2 years ago, it's 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it is honestly quite a while at this point. And so look, we talked about them before this thing happened and how Jabali had planned to sort of deal with the COVID issue, trying to do his best, honestly, saying in advance that you needed proof of vaccination or negative COVID test, that you needed to have masks on. And in Florida, there's just not a lot more that you can do than that. In fact, I was concerned that you couldn't do that much. And I thought that he was taking risks legally. But, it seems like it's worked out, which I'm very thankful for. So, typically CEOs in June. This time it was in December just because everything has been weird. And finally, it did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to start with, obviously the bad news right away is that some people who have attended the event did test positive for COVID. Now, some of the people, well, at least I know one person, who did test positive, say that they probably caught it before they went to
Yeah.
CEO, that they were masked the whole entire time. The people that he came in contact with, he's already talked to, direct contact with, they've tested themselves. They're so far negative. Obviously, it's early. They're going to have to test themselves again. But it seems like, for the most part, it's, that seems to be the isolated case right now. I haven't heard of
Yeah.
anything else too crazy or anything. Actually, that's the only case that I've heard of from
Yeah.
CEO so far.
Same. That's all that I've heard of too. I mean, it will take a few days until stuff like that typically shows up. But, frankly, if you're somebody who found out that you're sick after CEO and you have been vaccinated and boosted and you wore a mask the whole weekend and you let everybody know as soon as you found out, like, you did as good as you could have done. To the extent that, like, you're there, like, that's a risk obviously that you're taking, but that aside, you did as good as you could have done. So what can you do? I think we should probably talk more about the COVID stuff towards the end of this, but
Sure.
as far as the event goes, before we get to the results, uh it seemed like it was well attended. Again, it was in the old Wyndham, which is where CEO used to take place every year. And so
Where CEO
obviously I
Talks
wasn't there.
does take place.
Right, correct, yeah.
Right, that's true. That's true. Yes.
But it was cool to me to see that. Like, there's a lot of good memories that I have from that area, and so seeing it on camera, seeing it on stream, that was really, really cool for me. And you know, this weekend I made a bunch of time. I did have some other stuff to do, but I made a bunch of time to sit there and watch like a ton of different games. I watched a lot of hours of 4 or 5 different games, including basically the whole finals day. I was stoked for it. Like, honestly, my feeling was, I didn't go, of course, like we've talked about. I had some concerns as you guys do. That's why we're not there. But that aside, I had a super fun time watching it, and I was really happy and thankful for everybody who put on such a good show. The organizers, the commentators, and the broadcasters, and the players doing a great job. So from that side of things, I felt very positively. What did you guys think?
I mean, I thought just watching the event, honestly, I feel like it really reminded me and made me remember why I love everything fighting games, to be honest, because it was just, being able to see the faces of the players again, having what was it? Who was it that was top 8 in Guilty Gear Strive who eliminated Hotashi? I think it was Idiosyncrasy with his pop off versus Hotashi, and Hotashi's comical reaction to seeing the pop off and him like scooting off stage a little bit, hearing the Puerto Rican crowd cheering for Mono in the background, and it's just all those little things like that was just. It was so wonderful to see again, and just seeing how excited everybody was and seeing that involvement. Oh gosh, it made me like, God, I miss this. For a while I was just like, I weirdly almost feel like I've forgotten what it felt like, and seeing it again like that was just, it was wonderful to see, and it made me happy.
I think, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you said, James, but you left out one thing that I feel is really important, and that this felt like, even from just sitting at home watching, it felt like offline is back. I mean, like, there's been other events, like we said, that have happened offline, but that's what they felt like. They felt like special. This is an event that's happening offline. It didn't feel like an offline tournament. And CEO really, really just felt like an offline tournament. And what I mean by that is, obviously everybody doesn't get to go to every tournament. So all of us have experience watching the streams, right? And sitting on Twitter. The FGC, I feel like personally, this is, my experience. It feels like in the pandemic, the FGC kind of broke off into their own factions. The Dragon Ball Fighters players went their way.
Yeah.
Granblue players went their way. Tekken players went their way. And it didn't feel like as much of a community. It felt like each game was its own community, which is obviously always the case. But when CEO happened this weekend, everybody that I follow from all these diverse subgroups of the FGC were tweeting about CEO. And not even just the games that they're known for, but the tournament as a whole. And that really, really sealed it for me that, oh shit, offline it's back. Like it's happening now.
Yeah, I think that side of it is totally true, and it's a big part of why I enjoyed the weekend so much. I felt the same thing. We've talked about it before. I've basically been following Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and I haven't watched almost anything else in the last year and a half.
Yeah,
just because that's what I care about the most, and I have limited time, and it's easy for me to look at those things. I would have to seek out the other stuff, and that's just
right.
I'm not going to do that as often, right? Which is understandable. And each of us has that own like sort of segment in the games that we care about most. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy watching those other games. So for this weekend, like I said, I watched all of the finals day. And that was great. And I watched a bunch of stuff even before that. Mortal Kombat Top 8 was the previous day, for example. I watched that then.
I can confirm you were in our group chat going off.
I was going off about it, no doubt about it. Yeah, excited. I was talking about it on Twitter, and yeah, right. And there were lots of people in the chat as well who were that same kind of thing. Names who I saw chatting throughout the day, rather than just like I'm here for a particular game, then I'm gone.
Right.
Obviously, you also have people like, oh, whatever game's about to start, boo, like that. Obviously, that.
Oh,
but that
yeah,
is,
yeah. That's
but
whatever.
that also like is FGC majors.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And that's
absolutely.
also a thing that's back. And so I don't want everything to come back, but like it did feel like it was olden times. And I agree with James as well that it almost is a feeling that I had forgotten. I think in particular there was a match in MK Top 8, Ziadriel El Punk versus Unjust that just was so good and just made me feel like a hype and excitement, and my heart was pounding in my chest. And
that was the what, Kotal Khan, wasn't it? Projectile fatal blow finish, right?
The crushing blow,
crushing
exactly,
blow. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, super sick. And that feeling, there have been big moments. You know what I mean? Like there was a whole season of the Pro Tour, and same for SF5, and like there have been many weekly events and community events, and it's just not the same feeling as this offline event. The crowd's there cheering. Again, like, it's just a different feeling.
Look, I keep telling people this, like the best part about fighting game tournaments is the people, right? It's the reactions. It's that, like, the matches are fun and everything, but this is how I feel about ranked as well, and this is how I feel about online events. It's just you don't get to see the players, you don't get to see the humans there, and just by adding that back in, it's such a big difference being able to see the reactions. Like every time I commentate CPT, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, I can totally imagine he's just like passed out on the floor right now because he's like so relieved, like I'm automatically imagining, trying to, feel what they're feeling, see what they're feeling, and trying to convey that to the audience, because to me that's so important. But when we're doing live events, I always, like, as soon as a match ended, our view was always the multi-camera angle, so we could see every view. And if I could see the view of the players, I would commentate that as opposed to anything else, because if anything interesting was happening there, like, that's my favorite. Like, oh, you could see the relief on his face. Oh my God, he's so excited. Because to me, that's just everything. That human aspect. I've said fighting games it's a group genre. It's a social genre. Like, it's not meant for us to be played alone by ourselves on ranked. Like, it's so much more exciting this way. Even did you guys see the clip of K7 show off, the CSL guy, his sponsor popping off watching K7 win Guilty Gear?
No, I didn't actually.
I did not see that, no.
It's just him watching at home on his TV by himself, and I think it might have been his wife or someone who was like secretly filming him. But like K7 is just like starting to win. He's like, yes, let's go. He's like jumping up and down. Like, that kind of shit that's fighting game community to me. So that's the kind of stuff that gets me hype, and I want to see more of that. And CEO, like I said, was full of that. And CEO has always been one of the best in terms of audience participation with the ring, with people being able to pop off and do their intros and stuff. It's a very human tournament, and one of the most human tournaments, because the players do get a chance to show off that way with their intros and have the ring to jump around and bounce around like K7 did. So
shout outs to Buff Yipes doing the mic work.
Felt so bad for him, dude. I thought it was Yipes at first too. Yeah.
I mean, when they both have masks on, I can see the resemblance. But if people don't know, we're talking about Dayasha, who's been doing mic work at CEO for a long time. And I gotta say, he's always been a buff guy, but he buffed up for sure.
Yeah.
And if they don't have masks on, like, you could definitely see that, like, they're different.
Oh yeah.
With the mask on and you don't know them, like, I get making a mistake.
And the best part was, like, when Street Fighter V started, he was like, "Look, I see you guys in the chat. I am not Buff Yipes," and
Yipes was in the chat. And he was like, "Guys, that's not me. I'm at home. I'm not at CEO." And people in the chat were still like, "You're probably on your phone right now in the ring saying that."
Well, see, the worst thing about it is, as soon as Dayasha says, I am not Buff Yipes, he cemented
Everybody's
it.
like,
He's
okay.
Buff Yipes for the rest
Oh,
of
yeah.
his life now. So
Yeah.
the crowd was chanting Buff Yipes.
I didn't notice that. That's great.
I saw tweets too of people tweeting Yipes and saying, "Hey man, you look good," and he was responding, "I'm not at CEO."
Yeah.
Felt so bad for him. I'm like, oh,
Dude, Mexican
thanks.
King. Yeah,
I'll just be like, thanks guys. Say, yeah, I worked real hard. Thanks.
yeah, because Mexican King has said he was at CEO, so he's already been typing some of that stuff in there into the chat. So shout outs to Mexican King for relaying some of that information. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was great. That whole ring stuff they did a great job at, and it seemed like a good CEO. You know, for people who were there. Again, I can only sort of guess. I wasn't there. I just watched a lot of it, and I saw a lot of people talking about it on social media and the like. But it seemed like it was a good event. As far as one other thing that I wanted to point out was, as often happens, and there was one of these instances that was highlighted here. You know, the older couple who competed in Marvel, and they even have gamer tags, and they're going to be running an event next year.
Yeah, they were there to do research. It was Tinker and Arakius, I think. Arakius is the husband. Yep. Tinker is the wife. They are from Georgia. And they were there to enter, and they played in Marvel. And like you said, they're definitely older couple, and I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Big ups to my boy Gram Bam beating up Tinker. What a name! How is your name Ram Bam, and you beat up the grandmother? Like, it's just. If
Tinker
he put that in a movie, I wouldn't believe it.
Oh, sick! Tinker went
1 and 2.
2.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, the crowd was booing every time the elderly couple got hit in Marvel.
As they should.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're playing against them, you have to play seriously. Like, don't.
Oh,
like,
I'm getting triple perfects, dog. What do you mean? I'm going hard. Yeah,
for sure. It's more disrespectful to like take your hands off the wheel. You know what I mean?
But, I mean, it was like when
if I were in the crowd, I would have been booing also. So
do you remember?
you got both sides of the coin there.
Noah the Prodigy at Evo beating everybody, and when Chris G beat him, everyone was booing Chris G, and Chris G was like on the audience like, what do you want me to do? Like, you know, it's hilarious.
Absolutely. So I thought that was great. There were a lot of cool stories like that out of CEO. Now, as far as the
also
COVID
before we get to that, I just also want to say I do give Jabali a lot of shit all the time in person and online and stuff. But I mean, shout outs to him. He ran an amazing event, and you know, it takes a certain person to be the one to like try to bring it back and do something like this. And I think he did a fantastic job. So shout outs to him. Great job to CEO and that entire staff. You know, I noticed Tong doing a lot of work there now and everything like that. So
yeah, I mean, one thing I absolutely want to point out is that, well, I mean, you're right to shout out Jabali, obviously, but one thing I will shout him out for additionally is that he's actually like doing a good job now at highlighting other people and the work that they do. Like, he had tweets about how important Tong was, and Tong's clearly in like a major role there, which is appropriate. And he shouted out Evan as well on Twitter, which is really important. That's the guy, if people don't know, who does a lot of work at like supplying big tournaments, holding on to consoles and stuff like that.
He's the owner operator of Game
Generations.
Right. Yeah. And that's like very, very important for logistics for a ton of FGC events.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
So, you know, it's good that he's doing a better job at highlighting those people. It's obviously not a one-man show, and we often treat it like it is, and that's important to talk about. So shout outs to the whole staff for sure.
Dude, Evan is beloved by everybody who he meets. Like, Evan is the nicest human I've ever met, probably hands down.
And like I forgot the name. I forgot the name of the guy at Gaming Generations who is the truest unsung hero, because he's the one who drives the truck cross country to every event. It's like when it's Evo, he drives the truck with everything in it to Evo. When it's
I know who this is, and their name is on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah,
if I think of it, I'll say it.
In Florida, he'll drive all the way to Florida for Frosty Faustings, which I'm sure they're using them again. He's going to be driving all the way to Chicago, you know. I mean,
Wisconsin, Chicago's not
so
far.
Oh, okay, that's true. That's far.
It's like a 2-hour drive, but the other ones, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So shout outs to Gaming Generations. Honestly, this scene wouldn't even exist without them. Honestly, so
they really do important work. Yeah. So as far as the COVID issue goes, I think the thing that I would say about it is that from a viewer perspective, on the first couple days, I felt pretty positive with what I was seeing. It seemed to me like most people, at least at the times that I was watching, were masked. The commentators, I guess were clearly allowed to not wear masks if they felt comfortable with that. It seemed to me that the players on stream were allowed to do that too. I don't know, but that's kind of what it seemed like. But the people in the background that I saw were mostly masked up. And then on Sunday, maybe still the majority were, it looked like, in the background. But that said, like, there were a lot of people without masks on, or who had the masks around their chin or under their nose. It definitely seemed more lax. Yeah. And that's the moment when you probably need that most, because there's so many people all together. They're all yelling and cheering, and so that moment made me a little bit nervous. But I will say that from what I've read on Twitter from people who were actually there, the ones who I've seen talk about it, have been positive about how many people were masking up and how many people were taking it seriously. And, as we mentioned earlier, like, there are only so many things you can do in Florida legally to be safe. Like, you just can't mandate the same kind of stuff that you can in other places. And so in that context, it seemed to me like they were doing about as well as you could honestly expect. I don't know. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought they did as well as you can. We're going to see it at Frosty's too. There's going to be people that try to skirt the rules and don't have their mask on properly. But, when you have thousands of people at an event and it looks like 95% of them are following the rules, you're doing a pretty damn good job, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we weren't there, but everything that I saw on stream seemed at a level that is acceptable. Again, they're doing the best they could. It's impossible to police 5,000 people in a ballroom. You can't.
I mean,
they did pretty well, but most people seemed respectful.
Yeah, when I checked the audience, I was actually surprised to see the number of people masked. I mean, I was expecting most people, but it felt like nearly all were masked. You could definitely spot the faces in the crowd when you could see a whole face and stuff. Yeah. But
no shame, just right on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, we know how it is in those top 8 experiences. If you're not playing or commentating or otherwise working, you're getting ripped a little bit, right? Like, you're a little sauce for sure.
I mean, speak for yourself, right, David?
Never.
I mean, like, some. I don't know if it's a majority, but like, it's a pretty big percentage of people who
probably at least 50%. Yeah.
I mean, that's my guess, honestly.
I've never experienced this in my life. I have.
You're there on vacation
because you're always busy commentating.
Yeah, you're working. You're doing the top 8.
Even if I'm not, dude.
Hanging out.
Even if I'm not.
I know. But a lot of people honestly are, and so under those circumstances, it's going to be even tougher to keep a lid on things. I get it. And so, again, all things considered, it seemed to me like about as well as you could expect. And I have seen people say that, like, that level of compliance for them isn't going to justify them attending an event. And, that's totally fine. Absolutely, right? Everybody has a different risk tolerance. Like, we should all already have been vaccinated if you can get it, if you live in a country where that's available. Same with getting the booster if you're somewhere where that's available. These are already things that we should have all done. And so with that and masking, we nevertheless all have, levels of risk that we're going to be okay with taking or not. And I don't have any, like, aspersions to cast on anybody for that, for sure. But again, from what I could tell, about as good as they could have done, in my view.
And honestly, look, I mean, you can see how effective masks have been in the fact that it's just even the number of common cold has just this past couple of years, the regular flu and the common cold have just not been that prevalent as previous years.
Look, that said, even if it was as good as it could have gone, if you're somebody who went, I really recommend wait a few days until, typically it does take a few days for that kind of thing to become testable rather than getting a false negative. Yeah. So wait a few days, isolate, and then get tested. And I hope that things are cool, but it is going to take a couple more days for us to figure out, like, were more people sick than just the, individual case that we've heard about so far.
Right.
We'll find out. So, all right.
As for the event itself, results, anything sticking out to you?
Yeah, I want to shout out the homie Jason for taking second and Marvel 3.
Oh, he got all the way
that
to
was so
second
cool.
place?
He was in grand finals,
second.
dude.
He was in grand
Not
finals.
just in grand finals, but he was there on winner's side.
He was on winner's side. Ray reset and took it. But I'm happy for Ray too, because Ray is like infamous second placer. So
Right.
for Ray to clutch that out from loser's side and come back, that's amazing too. But man, I'm so proud of Jason. What a guy, pushing Parsec Marvel 3 on everyone in every capacity that he can, giving out free servers for people to play on, to try it out, playing with anybody who was willing to play with him, me included. I played a ton of matches with him when Marvel 3 was popping again, like when it resurfaced basically online. Yeah. And Dude, man, to see him take second, that's just, I was so proud of him.
I mean, obviously he's been playing a lot. You see how much it helps. But one of the important things though is about Marvel that I'd like to mention as well is like that game, like it might as well be one of the main games currently. Like I feel like that game is going to be popping at every tournament. It's just
160 entrants at CEO. Not bad for a 10-year-old game.
How many did you say?
163.
That's great.
That's great, dude. That is a game that is not gonna die. I'll tell you that much. So I mean, that game is gonna live for a while. So, but yeah, Punk got top 8 in Marvel 2. That's crazy.
Yeah. Marvel 3.
Marvel 3.
Yeah. No, I meant Marvel as well.
I know what you meant.
I know. I just realized that now. But I mean, obviously, look. Every once in a while, David and I will admit that we make horrible mistakes and are wrong about things. And so I think both David and I would like to have a formal apology to Mono about telling him to switch away from Fang. Otherwise, he'll never win a major tournament. And shout outs to Mono, dude. I'm so, like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I love Punk. Like I love Punk to death. I want to see him win everything because that guy is passionate about fighting games and everything, and about what he can do. He knows his potential. But I was so happy for Mono to win CEO. What a crazy upset with a crazy character, and just what a win for Puerto Rico. Like all the talk, they said that the newspapers are printing articles about him, like the country's talking about it. It's crazy, dude.
It was so cool. Yeah, I was unabashedly rooting for him. Like everybody on the stage there were like people I know are friends of mine, right? But but him in particular, I've felt for so long that he's one of the best players in the world. I mean, I've explicitly had conversations with him, as James suggested, where we will literally say, that you're a character selection away from making Capcom Cup. Like I've said that to him in the past, and I have believed it. This is a guy who, it's not like he's always a low-tier hero. He played Yun in Third Strike. He played Dictator in SF4. Not like the maximum tier, but like a good character.
I mean, was Yun good in Third Strike? I mean,
I think he was pretty good in Third Strike.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And in SF5, he actually played Dictator and then dropped him when Dictator got buffed. What are you doing? So I don't know. But yeah, I think part of why it's so cool is that he ended up doing it with the character that he wanted to do it with. And it's not, I don't want to say that that character has been buffed, right? It is not as good as some characters in the game. I think probably still on like the sort of lower end, but in the context of a game that's pretty well balanced, really. Yeah. And they've buffed him in interesting ways. He's not like buffed in ways that make him more obvious or easier to play. Like they buffed him in like cool, interesting ways, and the Fang players have figured out how to make that work, and that's really, really cool. Mono's a good buddy of mine. I mean, he and I talk on the phone sometimes, and he has stayed at my apartment in the past, and that was a really meaningful win to me. Like I teared up when that happened. I thought that was so cool. I was very, very happy for him, and he actually called me later that night, and we just talked about the matches and like how he was feeling, and that meant a lot to me too that he called. So big shout outs to him. I was really, really happy for him, and nobody deserves it more. Very cool.
And again, for me, it wasn't even just that Mono friend won. It's just I thought it was just such a big victory for the whole entire country. oh, I'm sorry, the whole entire province of Puerto Rico. Just seeing how they were all going nuts, and just that whole crew, there were so many of them there at the event, and just like I said, just how happy they are that like I've just been seeing on my timeline. It's just like celebration, and it's just it's so cool. So
one of the things that I wanted to shout out with the Street Fighter one is that I really liked the commentary. I thought that Sankola and Brad did a really good job on there, and it really brought home to me the point that in the last couple of years with this online situation, there have been a lot of people on come up in commentary, and that's something I noticed throughout the weekend. Actually, was people who I didn't recognize or who I maybe have recognized, but only since online heavy commentary began. And so I think it's super cool that they use that time to up their skills and to get more notice and to be able to do top 8. And I think that they nailed it. So hats off to them. That was really cool. For me, the thing that I wanted to shout out the most was in Mortal Kombat, where 2 twins from Chile who are 16 years old got first and second place at this event. And this is an event that, did not have Sonic Fox and like that. Like there were a few players who you would say like, oh, they weren't here. But honestly, a lot of the scene was there. It was a really good tournament for Mortal Kombat. It was not a case of like, nobody's there, so these kids won it. It was not like that at all. In fact, both of them made it through really, really strong players who have made like Evo top 8s and have done really, really good stuff, and who have won majors in the past, won Pro Tour events in the past. So that was incredible. They're 16. They're what the guys were saying on commentary are just from a small town, not even from like major city in Chile, and they have just played against each other so much that they're good. Like that's incredible. Talk about talent. So hats off to them. I thought that was really great. They then had one of the most interesting grand finals that I've seen in a while, because it was them jerking around for sure, but also in a way that like was so maximum level at the same time. like you could see like why they have gotten so good, because it's not like they're not joking around. They're not like purposely not doing combos. They're doing like the hard stuff. They were doing some hard stuff during that grand final. But like at the same time, you could tell that they know each other so well that they have to like play it weirdly, right? So anyway, it was just a really interesting grand finals. I really enjoyed it. CEO shout outs.
No, I mean, we're out of time. Do you want, I mean, we still haven't had a chance to talk about a few things though. I mean, this is obviously a big important topic. Do you want to add more timer, or should we use a timer buster if we got it?
I mean, you can use your timer buster if you want, but we're already 10 minutes behind, and Hippo is waiting on us.
Yeah.
All right. So
bust it if you want.
All right.
I mean,
2, 1, go.
Obviously, I just want to add in as well. I thought Guilty Gear Strive was really cool as well. Really happy for that. I'm really happy for K7 Show Off. I mean, again, this is one of those games like Dragon Ball that was a community melting pot, right? And K7 Show Off is from the NRS community, and he came in here and was able to take the event, and I think that's super sick, showing like all of whatever claims that NRS players aren't strong, quote, whatever, is just a bunch of hogwash, basically, and they're clearly super good. But also, to Remy Celeste as well, VTuber player online, showing up here and getting second place with Axel. Okay, so all of the Axel is dead, fears and stuff like that, highly exaggerated and stuff, but gonna be happy for my boy Kizzy K, of course, and Tempest. Why did you gotta do that to Flash, dude? Like, why did you the 100% May combo there? But I mean, it was really cool to see a lot of the players there, and really interesting because this is the first time that we've had a big major offline event, right? So Hotashi finishing in 9th place, Lord Knight finishing in 9th place, Marlon. But now there were complaints, obviously, about the fact that the stage had the PS4 Pro, the stations had the regular PS, so there were different delays jumping back and forth, and it was really input lags. It was really kind of confusing that way, but overall, really happy about that event as well. So, okay. So there goes my buster already. Let's move on to the next topic here. Oof. Yeah.
So at CEO,
actually, I don't want to. People in the chat are going to be mad. Shout outs to Arslan Ash taking Tekken as well. That's super, super cool for traveling out there and doing that.
yeah, just a brief aside. We have been asking, honestly, like what people want to see change on the Tuesday show, and the number one response by far was don't talk about tournament results as much. So we didn't last week. We're going to keep it super brief with the results section here. That's why we phrased it more as like, what are you interested in? What were cool moments for you? Rather than like, here's a list of everybody who got top 8. So just a little explanation. All right, let's move on to the next one. So at the end of CEO, matches are all done. There are trailers. And Jabali had teased these, and we thought, is he just going to be showing us a CEO 2022 trailer? What are you going to be doing here? It actually turned out to be cool things.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had an indication that it was going to be something a little bit like more Arxis related, but this was not what I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be like Baikan, that's it. But I mean, the fact that they came out with BlazBlue Central Fiction and BlazBlue Cross-Tage Battle. Boy, I can't type here, I guess. Here.
You know, nobody was going to... I was just going to let it rock. I saw it. I was going to let it go.
Anyway, the important thing is that they're getting rollback. They're getting rollback internet. And not only like in the future, but BBCF currently has a beta test for the rollback.
Yes.
And you can go on Steam right now and play it. I was trying it out earlier, and it exists.
And just as a quick note, all of BlazBlue is on sale right now too. Like, there's a package on Steam that you could buy all of the BlazBlues, and that includes Central Fiction with the rollback beta. That Shinizak has said no intention of stopping until its release in February. So this might be an infinite beta that you can just play like this until it's released in February.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And if you only want to play BBCF, it's $20 for that game by itself right now. So please to check it out. Yeah, huge news. And it's like what many of us actually said when Arxis asked the question, like, which game do you want to see get rollback? A lot of people said, even people who aren't necessarily BlazBlue players said, BBCF should get it.
Yes, 100%.
And like I also want a BBTAG as somebody who played that game a lot as well. I'm super happy for BlazBlue fans. It's a game that I played in a couple versions of it, not BBCF, so I'm kind of coming into that one without a lot of things changed throughout the game's version,
Right.
So I'm coming into it basically brand new, I guess.
I know how to do one combo.
I have learned one combo with Tager, with this version of Tager, yeah. But in BB Tag, I played a lot of that game, even on its bad internet for a while. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited when that comes out. It's not out yet. When that comes out, I'm very excited for that. So really, really cool news. There's already like immediate results. Like, people have been checking the stats on Steam to see how many people are playing BBCF. It's already thousands of people. It's like it was 4,000.
A little bit over 3,000.
The peak is 4,733.
There you go.
The growth of the day, but I mean, people were going here even before the beta started. People were jumping online even before they had the ability to play, and like it was like 1,000% increase from Sunday to Monday when it got like released and stuff. It was insanity. And again, you mentioned it. I don't even play BlazBlue, and I think that this is the best decision. Like, I think this was the right choice. I feel like the BlazBlue fans deserve this so much because. Look, you've seen it through the interviews that we do. How many players have come on here and said BlazBlue is like the game for them? This is the game that they love deepest within their heart and stuff. This is a game that a lot of people are very, very passionate about, and I feel like they deserve it. Now, a lot of people in the chat or wherever on YouTube, they're all going to be asking, what about Granblue? What about Dragon Ball? That's not up to Arxis, okay? Both of those games are not going to be up to Arxis on whether or not that they can put roll rollback in there, because that's all budgeted through Bandai Namco / Cygames, respectively for their games. So for the games that they had control over, this was the perfect choice. And I mean, a lot of people are going to want Exerd, but they're not going to do that because Strive is currently the game that people are playing. But I'm just so happy for the BlazBlue community. Like, these guys have been so patient, and I really do hope that this creates an influx. A lot of people are like, hey, I own Central Fiction and Tag, and I never played them. Now I'm going to download them and try them again and stuff. So I'm so happy, honestly, for the scene.
Me too. It's been very cool to see.
That's cool.
So February 2022 is when BBCF officially launches with this, although like the guys were saying, this just sounds like you're just going to be able to play it until then anyway. And then for BBTAG, sometime in 2022. We don't know when.
Also note that Central Fiction so far is only Steam, and BBTAG they said was going to be PS4 and Steam. So don't know if Central Fiction will be updated on any of the other platforms, but so far the trailer just announced that it was going to be Steam, and that's it. So
PC gaming, that's right.
Yeah,
pretty sweet.
I'm wondering if there is the potential here, are we going to see new BBTAG content? Because if they're going to do Steam and PS4,
they made the announcement. They directly said this is not the end for BlazBlue. That we're still working on BlazBlue content. So almost for sure, yeah, they got to be cooking something up.
Oh, Gundam Jehudi Kai.
There's no way you put Central Fiction with rollback and aren't kind of using that as a bit of a litmus test to see if there's no interest. Like they're doing something with this.
Right. Gundam Jehudi Kai brings up a really good point that BlazBlue Central Fiction on PlayStation was also cross-generation PS3 and PS4. So maybe they can't update it because they would have to update the PS3 version somehow or something like that. And
maybe
who knows if that's even possible. But yeah, for sure,
it's definitely a popular IP. It's been a very popular game in Japan the whole time. So yeah, super exciting. Congrats to everybody.
I can't wait for everybody to play BBTAG online and get mixed up and still get hit by all the things that they swore they would block if they were actually offline. Because that game is
real gnarly. There's some real gnarly mix-ups.
Unfair.
I mean, both games, BBCF and BBTAG, have some pretty gnarly stuff going on. But they're really fun.
You say really that, cool, but I still think Tag was like on another level of gnarly. But I'm not saying that is a bad thing. Like, look at how much people love MVC2 and MVC3. Like, those are two of the gnarliest games that you can find, right? So
I mean, with Wall Taker, I'd straight up like guard break unblockables. So I mean, there's definitely gnarly stuff in that game, and that's not even what the top tier teams are at this point. So
right.
All right. Anyway, very cool. Congrats to everybody. Pleased to play the games. That was not the only announcement. They then had a trailer, and some character got announced for Guilty Gear Strive.
Baikan was announced for Guilty Gear Strive. I was actually really surprised by this. Like, it feels like the waifu pick. You know what I mean? Like, this is like people are going to want to play her because this is Baikan, right? And like people love, like, she's that, Street Fighter 5, Mika gets announced. Everyone's like, oh my God, I love Armika. And it's like, you've never played you've never cared about Armika in your life. I feel like that, but I think Giuna kind of put it best when he said that hating on Baikan is the new I love Baikan. A lot of people seem to hate Baikan more than they actually hate her. It seems like they're hating her just because for the memes now or something. But I'm excited. Baikan was one of my main secondaries in XX for the express purpose that I could not beat Eddie with Eddie/Zato with Johnny at all. So I had to use Baikan to fight him. I'm really, really curious to see how they're going to implement her. Because I saw a tweet that was like, someone chastising Baikan, people claiming they like Baikan because they're like, oh yeah, I want to play Baikan because I like blocking. And they're like, Baikan doesn't block. And I was like, you must be an Exerd player. Because XX Baikan blocked all day because was where her power was. She's the alpha counter monster. She has free alpha counters on every button that she has. She has a kick, she has a punch, a kick, a slash, and then she eventually got a heavy slash alpha counter. And that was her whole design. But in Exert, it was not that at all, which is why it was hard for me to play her. It was actually hard for me to get used to her because she was so different. The style of how she played was different. And so I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with her, because they could revert her back to the alpha counter style. All you have to do is make sure her alpha counters can't be PRC'd, just like, DPs on whiff and stuff like that. And I think you could implement it, and I think it would work. And I would love to have her go back to that style, but not sure how it's going to work.
I think it's pretty safe to assume that they'll have her base game plan from some game that she was in the past within Strive, but she's probably going to be pretty different considering her game plan. I mean, if you look at Ram, if you look at Jacko, if you look at so many characters, they're quite a bit different from what they used to be.
Right.
That's what I'd expect from Baikan. I think she'll probably be pretty different. The only thing that I was surprised about is I thought they would release Baikan as the first DLC. It's like the waifu. And then I realized she was stuck in Sam Show with that netcode, and it took that long to get over to Strive. So it makes sense that she's one of the last DLC characters to me now.
It was such a long series of tubes back from there.
So many.
Delay based.
It was such a delay. It was such a delay.
Yeah, I mean, look. Oh, thanks for resetting me.
Yeah.
I don't have any experience with Baikan. Like, I've never used her, never really played her. And so far, my experience with her is seeing people be like, oh, no, not this character. And then some people claiming that they love her. So whatever. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me either way. I mean, claiming that, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like James said, like with Mika, where people were like, I love Mika. In fact, before she was announced for 5, there were not 5 people on Earth who loved Mika, who had even thought about her twice.
Right.
And all of a sudden they were coming out of the woodwork. I don't know what the deal is with this character, but I'm looking forward to it. I feel like the cast in Strive, while different, like Tuppo was saying, still has a lot of interesting stuff. And I'm sure that they'll find some way to make her probably different, but also still in interesting ways.
I mean, again, one of the reasons why a lot of people hated her is because she can zone really well with a Tommy map. But in XX, like, I totally get it. The only reason why I used her is because I didn't want to learn how to block Eddie's stuff, right? Because then when she gained the heavy alpha counter, which she just flung across the screen, it was like the perfect anti-Eddie tool. And yeah, a lot of people hated fighting her because she's like a grappler in a way that as soon as you fight her, your game plan needs to shift, especially in the XX style. You couldn't fight her the same way you fought 100% of the other characters. You know how Guilty Gear is very knockdown, mixed, guess what? You have to... No, she was like, if she blocked once, she might hit you and you died. Like, you had to have Baikan safe strategies and stuff. So a lot of people hated fighting her because of that. And that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. Oh, Rev 2 Baikan was... Oh, yeah, Rev 2 Baikan is completely different. Yeah. Exerd Baikan is a completely different beast because she didn't have alpha counters anymore. She had red parries. They turned her into a red parry character. So you always had to parry into triggering something. And so that was different. It wasn't just, I'm going to alpha counter and be invincible until my move hits you kind of thing. So... but at the same time, she got a little more zoning. She got these better claw moves that can go in different directions. She got even a really slow fireball that she could throw across the screen and stuff. And she could get access to all of her alpha counter moves out of her command dash, which she couldn't do before. And so, there's a lot of little tweaks that they did to try to make her work within that system.
So she comes out in January, I believe.
Yep.
Of next year, so pretty soon, next month.
Yeah, just 1 month, dude. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be longer for the next character, but it seems like they're chugging along.
Yep. Cool. Well, anything else to say about that?
Is that all, or is that the last DLC for this season, or is there one more slot?
I don't know. I think there's one more. I think there's one more.
Okay, one more.
Oh yeah, chat
Hippo
says one more. I believe him. Yeah.
That's right. Baikan could do her counter out of the run in plus R. That's right. She hadn't been able to do it until then.
I actually was surprised it was Baikan. I thought it was going to be Elfelt. I guess they're saving her for last.
But you are expecting Elfelt next, though, huh?
Yeah, I think that'll be the last DLC character.
Who was it that was crying on stream when Baikan was revealed?
Baikan Superfan 6699.
Yeah, I don't know the guy personally either, but like that's funny. Like that's the kind of thing that happens each time there's some big reveal for a major game,
Dude,
right? Like we've seen that many times for other games too.
Look,
so
man, in 10 days from today, I'm gonna be bawling my eyes out in the theater watching Spider-Man. Yeah. I can't make fun of anyone for crying over fictional characters.
Absolutely right.
The only reason why I ask is because when Elfelt comes out, Lost Soul is gonna be doing the same thing, right? So
almost for sure, right? And Hotashi as well. Hotashi is Elfelt Superfan number 669999.
It's true.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know him, but right, like that's not how I react necessarily, but like, you know, it's cool. People do. I respect that. I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
that's actually how I reacted when Dan was announced in Street Fighter V, if you guys recall. Right?
Nope.
Yeah, honestly, when they first started that trailer and the kanji showed up and they started reading the kanji, you know, I wasn't immediately trying to count the syllables, but I thought I was like, wait, are those haikus? Because if that was the case, then it was going to be Slayer. So I almost thought it was Slayer at first.
I actually did think it was Slayer at first, too. I was like, oh, this is going to be Slayer.
Interesting.
And then they dropped the bike in. What would have been cool, too, is I also thought maybe this is Jubei from Sam Show crossing over into Guilty Gear.
That would have been sick.
I was like, first Slayer, then Jubei, then they showed bike, and I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, too.
Dude.
Yeah, when 12 gets announced for Street Fighter 6, that's when I'll cry. Jesus. Everybody else will be crying too, but for a different reason.
Yeah, for a completely different reason.
I just don't understand how anyone could like the block. Anyways, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Let's go to break.
David likes
let's take a break here.
David likes Tager, so he likes 12. It all makes sense. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. You mean that as a burn, but I mean that as yes, exactly.
So David likes his characters to a T, right? Tager and 12. Haha. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, why are you looking so confused?
See you soon, everybody. We'll have KingHippo here on the program.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. We are bringing on our guest for the week, and that is going to be someone that you may have read a lot of their stuff and seen a lot of their, comments on Twitter, on the social media verse, and that is, of course, Mr. KingHippo 42. So let's bring him on over here. Hello, KingHippo. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, man, thanks a lot for joining us. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Here, Big Papa Pump. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. 33 and a third chance of that working. I'd say it worked.
All right. So, yeah, we'll definitely be talking about the stuff that James mentioned, your writings and so forth. But let's start by just talking about how it is that you got into playing fighting games in the first place and then taking the fighting games more seriously, getting into the community.
Absolutely. Okay. So, like probably a lot of us, I was born in the 90s, and that was the peak, for a lot of really popular properties.
Born in the 90s. All right, thanks for the interview. I'll see you later. All right, it's been KingHippo.
I gotta play the youth card somehow.
Nice work.
I say that as I'm turning 30. Anyways.
God.
No. Turning 34. No, you're supposed to be on my side.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. Anyways, so I was growing up. I was playing I had the Super Nintendo ports of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat 2. Even back before it was really now a kind of a sleeper hit. I was a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Huge fan of the Forgotten Trade West Classic, Double Dragon 5: The Shadow Falls. All those games. I played those a ton. And then, so, I would have to contribute what me taking a little bit more seriously was probably when I bought, and this was probably 2006, maybe, the Street Fighter 2 Anniversary Collection for PS2 that had Third Strike and I think Hyper Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And I played that a lot. And I really just, I dug Super Turbo and a Third Strike. And then I had the Xbox version of Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2, which of course has a how to play at a high level by David Sirloin. And it was it was informative. I'd never really thought of it as the way he had described it was enlightening, and I just then it was like, okay, maybe I'll start taking these seriously. And of course I'm a loud and proud 09er, so Street Fighter 4 is coming out. It came out in 2008. And I was watching it on YouTube constantly. I was watching the arcade footage and all that stuff. So I was all in. Really, though, the first tournament I remember entering for was a absolute classic that was not controversial at all. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, everybody. And that was
I played that David Sirloin.
Yeah,
exactly.
Same big rig sirloin.
That's right. So I feel like George Lucas.
I just want to mention that I still love his tutorial, because his tutorial was like, beginner. The first thing you want to learn is how to control space. And I was like, what?
I know, yeah. That's the beginner tactic is controlling. He just doesn't care. He goes all in. Like the advanced tactic is like negative edging, piano input, negative edging. And I just still don't know how to do that to this day. So, I can't say I learned all of it. But yeah, I was playing that and then played Street Fighter 4. And that was, I played Street Fighter 4 and like Marvel 3, kind of pretty much anything that came out. I would try. My local scene is very robust. So they had pretty much every player for anything, and where
are you located? Sorry,
I'm in Glendale, Arizona.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha.
I'm on the west side. Most of the players are from the east side, so they're from like the Tempe area and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. So I played pretty much, but then I kind of settled in 2011. My brother was really into Mortal Kombat 9, and I was like, I played Mortal Kombat before. I don't know if, this is going to be that serious, but I absolutely fell in love with it. And the scene was very small. At the time, it had very, very, very good players who had almost gotten top 8 at EVO and ended up going to NEC. And Detroit Ballin, who was our best local player, he won NEC that year. And Morty Seinfeld, who was our other best player, I believe got 4th. So it was like they really good players, and it was you couldn't miss it. And it was only like 4 or 5 guys that took it really seriously. So it was really tight knit. It was really close. And I pretty much stuck by those guys and by NRS games for pretty much forever. That's pretty much what I started to focus on. I still play lots of fighters. Like the last tournament I entered was probably 4 or 5 months ago. I played Tekken 7, so I play a bunch of stuff. But NRS games definitely are my bread and butter.
What was the thing that got you into fighting games? I mean, you talk about in the 90s having played them. I did too, but was there something that you noticed at that time, or that maybe later on when you started taking them more seriously, that drew you in as opposed to other games?
Oh, absolutely. So aside from Mortal Kombat's like my favorite fighter, and a big part of it has to do with like how cool it's presented. Okay. Like the lore and story and stuff like that. It's very easy, like very comic booky. It's very easy for a kid to get into. So that was a huge factor. But if you're talking about on a more like I don't know, I hate to use the term intellectual, but like a technical level, a big thing about it, like in a game design way, was that, I love problem solving. Even though I hate math, I love problem solving. And so I love platforms. So platforming games are huge because you get a screen and you have to learn how to get through it, and there's a lot of obstacles in your way. It's kind of clearing out the best way to get through it. So with fighters, it's really interesting because that changes constantly all the time. Your synapses are on fire most of the time. Like you have to figure it out so fast, so frequently. And I think that's really fun. A lot of people, it's extremely frustrating. And we can probably talk about this later. I think that's probably why the genre is not as big as it could be, but I think it's extremely thrilling. It's thrilling to watch. It's thrilling to play. And I'd never don't get a kick out of that. Like the feeling, like I was just playing, Luke just came out in Street Fighter 5, so I'm playing Luke, and you get the feeling of like, oh, I'm gonna fireball. Oh, he's jumping DP time, and it's like you can see it happening in your mind, and it plays out just like that. There's no feeling quite like it, and I don't think fighters are very unique in that they offer that aspect of it, and that's why I'll always probably play them in some capacity, even if I'm not playing them competitively.
Yeah, I've always said that one time where you play someone else, and for some reason, you know what they're going to do for like 5 decisions in a row, and you blow them up for it. That's when you truly fall in love with fighting games. And you can't even explain it. You're just like, I feel it. He's going to do this. And
no, and the sad thing is, because how dumb some of the games are, like you don't really, like the designers and stuff don't get a lot of credit for how like, wow, it came together in the end. Because I've heard some designers talk about the way they design these games, and it's really quite thought out in a way that you might not think of it as like a competitive player, but as like a person who's trying to entice someone into playing. Like I've met Brian LeBaron, who's a character designer at NRS, and he just designs the characters. I asked him about competitive stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I don't care about that." I was just like, "Sub-Zero can do a slide, isn't that awesome?" And it's like, yeah, it is. It's true. And you know, he just like he designed Captain Cold for Injustice 2, and he was like, my thought was, what if he just kicked an ice block at you? Isn't that awesome? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, I didn't, you know, and it's not his job to think about why, you know, they've got people that design the balance of that. That's fine. He just makes the move. So it's pretty cool. Like those guys, I don't think, you know, everyone makes fun of them. Oh, they're idiots. They're dumb. They don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But really, it's just it's, you know, they're really good at making those games that appeal to people. And I think that's really cool. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into like the game design aspect of it and breaking down why I like it, because, you know, obviously I like it in, you know, my gut or whatever, but intellectualizing it is kind of fun too.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but I didn't mean to imply that like you have to intellectualize it. I think it's certainly legit to be like, yeah, it's pretty sick that this character can slide. And I know people who have become really good fighting game players who that was the hook. The hook wasn't like there's strategy going on. The hook was this character looks sick or like whatever the
dude, I can play Dragon Ball. I can play Dragon Ball
Dragon Ball.
Do, you know,
an IP that you love. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Which is why those games like, you know, Arena Fighters or like, you know, like the whatever jump game that's going to get pulled from digital storefronts, why that sold a bunch is because people want to play as those characters and they want to go out and do that. So that's a huge factor. And of course you don't have to intellectualize it. I just happen to have a lot of time on my hands and no life. So I can do that.
I'm
so
100% with you on that front. Don't worry about it.
Dude, I think
all three of us are.
The world is on that is on that right now for the last 2 years. Yeah.
A lot of time on my hands. A lot of time to do that.
Right. Before we get to that, talk to me more about your like arc in the fighting game community. You know, you're playing and you're competing, and how that has gone over the years. Have you traveled, like all that stuff?
I have traveled a decent amount. The first tournament I remember, like the big major I went to was Devastation 2010, which was a big. You probably were, and which was a big deal because it was hosted by DJ Wheat. Of all people, right? And you know, Justin.tv was a big streaming thing at the time. Like, see, I'm dating myself here now, right?
No, it was like the only. Well, I guess there was Ustream also.
Ustream was, but anyway, so that was a big deal. And Marn won. That was when Marn won. I think Street Fighter 4 with Dudley. That was a big deal. He beat Valle.
Yeah.
And you know, that was just a really cool like experience, and I like going there. Everybody was really friendly, so I got to play and all this stuff. And I went to Devastation 2011, unfortunately, after that, and that was sort of the end of that. If you guys don't remember, it was like a tournament in like a huge warehouse that was poorly lit.
Yeah.
And I sympathize with like, you know, Rob and guys like that. Apparently they had some bad deals they made, and you know they didn't end up paying people and a bunch of other stuff, and the tournament was a mess. I mean, they had a lot of people who had never run it before, and this tournament, everything was free to enter if you paid $20, so it was like, and there was like 30 games. You know, there was like a League of Legends set up in the corner, there's a Just Dance in the corner, and then there's like MK9 in the corner, you know.
All right.
But no, but that was that was like the first tournament. I never really like did well at tournaments. Like I think the first one I ever traveled to was Final Round 2012. And sadly, like, this is no disrespect to like Chin Blanc or anything like that, that particular event for MK9 was run really poorly. It was run all day Sunday. It was a 100-man bracket. And I just was like, that I'm not really going to travel for that. But I had a lot of fun, you know, meeting people for the first time that I'd like, because I was also like, so a big part of it that's in the background is like I started to become a poster on like Test Your Might, talking a bunch of shit. Yeah. You know, just like anybody. So that was a lot of fun. And, you know, that's how you get ingratiated into any community. I'm sure you guys like Shoryuken forums or alt.sf2 for all the old heads out there, you know.
I mean, talking shit on Test Your Might, I mean, you must have stood out, right? Because I don't think anybody talks shit on Test Your Might.
Oh no!
I see David's face.
That's a good one, James. Like, to be fair, TYM was like the nicer MKU. MKU was just like the Morlocks where they lived. Like, there's just the mutants of the internet. But like, and TYM was like the nicer version.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so I was, you know, doing that. So I got ingratiated with a lot of people. I met a very good friend of mine to this day, Stephanie Brownback, 16-bit at Final Round 2012 for the first time.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
And so So that was a lot of fun. I didn't really do well in tournaments until like the first time I did well was like locally. I could start winning Mortal Kombat 9 tournaments. Like I would start winning. I could beat Morty, and one time I beat Detroit in tournament, so that was kind of cool. But he was always like my ghost. Like I could never beat him. He was just untouchable. But I played a really good character. I played Kenshi, so it was like as soon as I put the pieces together, I counterpicked. I was a natural counterpick to like Morty played Sonya, so it was like he had to play Cabal, and it was like it's tough. So then I started playing Injustice a lot, and Injustice from the start of it in Arizona, I could win tournaments and stuff like that. I was really good at it. But unfortunately, like it was, I was still in school at the time. I was in college, and I didn't get to make it to Evo or anything like that. And as time went on, I kind of I was playing Superman naturally, and I wanted to play like Deathstroke, and I wanted to play Green Lantern. So I ended up soloing Deathstroke, and I didn't get to go to a tournament for a long time. And I went to SoCal Regionals 2014, and it was like, okay, this is gonna be it for Injustice. Like, can I do it? And I got top 8 at that tournament. I got 7th.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a big run for me. For the first Injustice tournament I ever traveled to, I ended up getting a 7th place, which I beat MF Slayer to do it, who was an Evo finalist that year. So it was and you can watch the match. It's a very, very good match, and I was really happy with that. And so I got a lot of respect for being like the best Deathstroke player. And I thought that was really fun. And so after that, I started. This is when college was starting to really pick up. So I just didn't travel as much, but I did locally. I played Killer Instinct. And I got really good at that briefly, and I really enjoyed playing with the guys. It was a smaller community of guys in Arizona, but I played Combo right when he came out in season 2, and he was like busted. He was like just crazy. Like he could do all these, like he had a command grab, and he had this dunk move that restood you, and that was like one of the only moves in the game that did that and all that stuff. So he was really fun. And then I just kind of, after that, I started slowing down a lot. Like 2015, 2016 was when I was like student teaching. So I didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I played games that came out, and the last thing I really did of note was that in Injustice 2, I want to say this was 2018 because it was the second year for Injustice 2. I used Green Arrow, and I beat this fella named Basics, who ended up winning the Last Chance qualifier tournament later that year. Yeah. I beat him from a 0-2. And I won the next 3 games right in a row.
Nice.
Okay.
And it was really fun. And it was like, because I played with my friend and my former podcast colleague, Slips, legendary Tekken player, smartest dude I've ever played in any fighting game ever. And I just a 1 hour warm up with his Leonardo just like gave me the strength to like, okay, now I can do this. Just a brilliant guy, just one of the best. And so that was pretty much it. After that was when I started, I was at home a lot. And I started to turn towards like writing and things like that. So, but I still play, and I try to get out to locals when I can. It's a long way for me because I don't have a car, and it's expensive to do rideshare out there, and I don't want to beg guys to come out and get me. So I do my best, but I can't make it every now and again. But I try to for like when a game comes out in the first tournament for like Street Fighter 5, Soul Calibur 6, Tekken, all that stuff. I try to do that. Samurai Showdown.
Well, we definitely want to talk about the content that you do and have been doing as well. So, talk about how you got into that side of it.
Sure. So I have always sort of been like, as I've, gotten older, I've been interested more in like how kind of this like gaming community ultimately like how it kind of functions and how it works and how, there's a ton of problems with it, obviously, and for like a sociological aspect and stuff like that. And my background was sort of like in teaching and things like that. So I kind of learned how like, kids when they're younger, like it's not that they can't think. It's just that the risk assessment in their brain is not fully developed. So they do a lot of goofy things and the FGC. So I'm from the NRS side of the thing. So it's a lot of really young kids who say a lot of stupid shit constantly. And I knew from NRS stuff how it could be like a smaller community and its top players could say a lot of things and have a lot of influence and ultimately like kind of be damaging, like hurt people's feelings and make people not want to participate, or at least not as much as we might like them to, and things like that. So I started to like expound on it and see like how I could see how it functioned in the greater community and all that stuff. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And I remember
like there was one story like where a top player like fought someone online. It was like a little kid, and then he just like shot him with like Jax's missiles all the time, and then like probably kept that kid from joining. And he was being,
well,
he was like
that kid did learn that day. He did. Learn.
Yeah, they did learn that.
That was classic. Yeah, I love that one too. Yeah. So then I have a couple very good friends, Stephanie Brownback and Rose. Romanova, the cosplayer.
Oh, okay.
And really good friends of mine. And
whoa! Excuse you. Okay, she is also a top commentator and very strong player. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, great commentator. Had a great weekend at CEO, so I don't want to disparage that. I'm not, she was, yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway,
she's good at that. Anyway, let's move on.
Both of those ladies helped me a lot in seeing perspectives that I'm not usually, I'm not really familiar with, being who I am, and it made me see a different side of things and maybe want to explore that a little bit more. So then it became a little bit more hyper focused on certain aspects that I thought, people don't really talk about, because community is like a hard word to use, because like it's a community in the sense of like, there's like central hubs where people talk, but it's like not like a community, and like people look out for themselves because they, that's how it is. That's how you're rewarded in the system, is you're rewarded by being a YouTuber or being a content creator who has a lot of followers. And it's really like people can help you get that, but you kind of want to help yourself. And I don't think people think about too much about what they say or how, influence they might have. Cause it's not like normal human beings aren't supposed to be thinking about like, well, I have an audience of like 47,000 people. What are they going to think when I say this? It just doesn't cross anybody's mind. And so I was like, James raising his hand over there. I see that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I wanted to see how like maybe we could I could start taking a look at that from that side. And it's apparently quite the firebed, because a lot of people get really upset when you talk about these things. And, but I guess you're doing something right if people get upset, and because people get, they care. So I think that's good. It doesn't always have to be us versus them. It can just be a healthy conversation that might get a little heated, and we all want the same thing. So
right.
I hope that is what my goal was with the stuff that I do. I'm never trying to, despite what numerous people have emailed me, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's career or anything like that. I'm just trying to maybe point out a side that you weren't thinking about before, but now you might want to think about.
So you have a blog called Them's Fighting Words blog, but you also did a podcast that you alluded to before that. Which one of those came first? I actually don't know this.
So the blog has kind of been constantly going since like 2017, and I've tried to do a few podcasts in the past. I used to have one with Wonder Chef, Evan Hashimoto from SoCal.
Yeah.
Nice guy. I used to have one with Slips that was like kind of in like the Injustice 2 era.
I listened to that one.
Yeah, and we were the only ones. We had a great guy named Raptor who, if you've never been, his website is NRS or combatacademy.com. It's like the number one hub for anything Mortal Kombat 11. The kid's a genius. Like, it's just an amazing site. He built it all on his own. And he was a really good editor, and we would do like match of the week and breakdowns with like slowdowns and like, this is a really good move and stuff like that. We were doing stuff like that, but it was a lot of work, and Brad's a busy guy, and so I'm a busy guy, so it just didn't end up working out. But that was a lot of fun. But that was kind of concurrently alongside with the blog. The blog now I kind of focus all my attention on that for the most part.
Right. So now obviously. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, James. I was going to say, so why a blog? I mean, most people are YouTubing or Twitching or TikToking or whatever the latest trend is. Blogging is like very 1997. So why would you choose to go that route?
So like I said, I obviously, if anyone's ever listened to me, I have no problem talking at length for hours and hours and hours. So that's not a problem. But I didn't know a way to make it entertaining, and I've written my whole life. Like, I write fiction on the side. I published in I went to ASU. I got published in their short stories magazine for some poetry I did. So I've been writing for a long time, and just it's kind of one of my great passions. So
David is actually a bit of a writer too. He wrote Avatar fan fiction.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's right. I can link those to you if you want them. So
thank you very much.
Hey, listen, brother, from a fellow fan fiction writer, to this day, I can't judge. I love it. I love doing that stuff. So hey, no problem there. But so yeah, I've been writing for like my whole life, and it's always something that I felt I can communicate better with. My tone comes across better and all that stuff if I write.
Right.
So I just
preferred medium, basically.
Yeah. And I own that website. Like, WordPress hosts it, but I pay for like the link and everything like that. So stuff that I own that I can take, pretty much anywhere. So I kind of like that feeling of owning it, and I don't have to upload it to YouTube and just hope it doesn't get taken down and things like that. So
No, I was just about to, obviously one of the big things that's come from the blog, we've got to talk about the
deep
situation.
breath. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? The deep breath.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously one of the things that you chose to write about was, a very detailed article on, the infiltration situation. And since then, that's been kind of a go-to for a lot of the people. Like, whenever he comes up again, like he just won CPT. And so your article got a lot of hits again, talking about, trying to approach things, and I have it listed here, your take on info. You're kind of like tied to him now in this kind of weird way. And, like
a very rhyme of the ancient mariner albatross way, yes.
I mean, talk to me about how that's kind of affected the blog and affected your life and your social media presence and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, maybe before you get to how it's affected you, talk a little about what you wrote.
Oh yeah.
So it was at the time. So this was like a year after we got like word of it. So that like we first heard it in like late 2018. I think it was like September maybe. He was at the Tokyo Game Show and then he got pulled from it. And then Panda did their, I think they took 3 months to do an investigation. And then in December they said, hey, he's gone. And then Capcom was like, well, he agreed to kind of sit at home for a year, so we're going to let him do that. And then he won't be gone. He'll be gone. So after about a year or so, I wrote basically, I wanted to, there's a lot of information floating out there about it. There is a lot of rumor, a lot of innuendo, a lot of this or that. So it was like, okay, we need a spot to kind of get it all together. And I think the other problem was that the Panda document that they released is just legal. It's legalese. Like it's in some places it's almost incomprehensible. People get the wrong idea from it constantly. I think that was by design, of course, and I understand why. I'm not blaming anybody for it, but so I think it gets people the wrong idea. So I wanted to make, and that's not me being biased. That's just true. I've heard people say things that are just blatantly untrue that I would feel like, okay, well, if you can look here, you can see that this is what they're referring to. So I wanted to do that first and foremost. Now I waited a year or so. Like I would tweet about it, but like it's Twitter. I'm just I'm talking shit. But I wanted to write up an official thing after his response came out. So he did an interview with IGN Korea.
That's right.
And shortly after he won EVO. And there's a couple people I work with that live on that side of the world who speak Korean. They inform me about these things and I try to keep touches on it. So I saw when that went live for the first time without the English translation in, I want to say September or so, right after EVO. And that was when I was like, okay, well, here's his side. And and then there was another article shortly after in a Korean newspaper, and it kind of contradicted a lot of the things he said. So I wanted to be like, okay, well, here's his side. It's no longer he said, she said, because we have the both sides and we can look. Okay, here's the not so great part, and here's another not so great part, and this doesn't look good for him. And you can take it all in context, so that you can't say, well, I took it out of context. Well, I took it out of context. I didn't. I did my best to let him speak his own mind, and then we can look at what the facts were afterwards and see, well, he might not have been totally truthful. He might have been fudging some facts here and there, and it doesn't look great for him. And that's pretty much what I wrote. And so the reason why, I'm very verbose. I told you. The reason why I wanted to write it was because it made me uncomfortable. Like it's a very Hanzo Gonzo made a tweet recently where he kind of alluded to like he said the quiet part loud in my opinion. Like no one really wants to talk about it because like people get upset. Like I mean you can look at the comments of the blog, they're nasty. And I had a tweet thread that I made that was just compiling like from Reddit, from anywhere that had been linked of all like the hideous things people would say about me, about people that would talk about it. It's a very like people get really inflamed talking about this, and it's just tough to talk about, it makes you uncomfortable, and I understand and I get it, but it's like, people aren't satisfied. And when people aren't satisfied, they're going to do things that they might regret that nobody likes to do, but it's because it's gone unchallenged, untalked about. And so I wanted to create a conversation starter, and, I hate to say it, and in 2 years, I don't think anyone's really moved the conversation forward, which is a very recent piece I just put out, where it's like the infiltration will do something and someone will be like, well, here's this fucking blog. And then they'll look at it and it's just, I get more abuse in my mentions over and over again. Not that I care. Like, I don't really care that much because it's like, oh, boop, okay, cool. But, notification going up again. Okay, cool. Whatever. And it doesn't bother me that much, but what bothers me is that it's never been beyond like, well, did he, is that really like abuse? Like, and it's so like that question is still like, okay, I'm sick of that. Like, can we move on to like, okay, so clearly at the time, morally impugning anybody about this didn't work. Nobody cared. Sorry. Like, I know that hurts people's feelings, but Capcom didn't care. None of the big community figurehead TOs really wanted to take a stand on it. Just didn't work. And we all play fighting games. We know a tactic doesn't work. You stop doing it and you move on to the next one, right? So to me, the conversation needs then to be about, okay, people are clearly there's a lot of people uncomfortable with the idea that your actions outside of any communal event could make you could be liable to just like people could say that, then you're just gone from any tournament. It's on the internet forever. Like, if I don't want to like defend infiltration here, but like this is not like, oh, well, it's just something that this little community is kind of cutting him out from. This is the first thing you see when you Google his name. This will follow him for the rest of his life. Right, you know what I mean? Like this is not like some little like in forum fighting or something. Because I think that's how some people treat it, right? Like it's like, oh, they was on Shoryuken and oh, he got kicked out of this thread because he was being an ass, but nobody cares about that in real life. It's like, well, no, that's going to follow him for his whole life. And maybe something that serious should be taken equally as seriously if we want to have like an adult discussion about it. So to me, the constant like refrain of like arguing whether or not he was innocent or guilty, like, come on guys, we got to grow up here. Like they're the facts. You can read them. Let's talk about something constructive that can come from that. And we haven't really gotten there yet. And I think it's really disappointing.
I mean, to be very clear, he did the thing that he's alleged to have done.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, and certainly our experience has been the same as yours on our YouTube videos where we have talked about this in more explicit detail. We get the same kind of pushback.
I mean, like, honestly, like, there was one stream where we talked about it, and, like, you could see it. Our viewership dipped drastically afterwards.
We have actually noticed that happening.
Yeah. And then not only that, but right after that, my Twitter account got canceled. Like my Twitter account got banned for a day.
Yeah, I remember that, James.
I had to appeal that. Like it's like you said, people are very passionate about this topic.
Yeah, well, yeah, and because the problem then it's like, okay, so like when part of having the adult discussion is like, okay, for me, like if I have an extreme opinion, and for a time I did, because I also want to be very clear, my position on this has changed a lot over the past 2 years. Like I think about it a lot, I change my mind a lot, and I have no intention of like leading people to believe like, well, I always thought that. No, it's been a constant process of me reevaluating, thinking what
Sure.
did and didn't work. Like I had an idea, to create a catalog that would just, in a mechanical manner list any ban that happened in any small community so that people could be aware. To me, that was a failure. It didn't work. I got people very upset with me because one person unfortunately appeared to have used it to kind of disingenuously attack a bunch of people that he didn't really like and took great offense to something that really maybe not have been that big a deal, but he did ban them. And so it was listed, and a lot of those guys, got really upset, and the person appealed to me to take it off and stuff like that. And so I realized like that didn't work. That's not now that's a very small sample. I'm not going to say like I'm, the omnipresent, like, oh, this is actually how it would work to scale, but it didn't work, and it's not good. And I don't think people like that. I don't think people like the idea that they're on eggshells constantly. And that's something you have to talk about. I don't think if you're being reasonable, and also like, when I say my extreme opinion, I don't have any constituents. I don't have anybody that like is like, oh, well, aren't there consequences to that? Someone like Rick, someone like Jabali, well, they have to cater to a lot of people. And so their decision will reap consequences, and they have to bear out if the consequences of that aren't borne out for public debate for the people who it will affect, it's not very serious in my opinion. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, they have power in a way that like they don't necessarily want to have, right? Like it's
exactly
it has to be up to them to make some of these decisions, and that's not why they got involved in doing the things that they do. They wanted to put on big events and tournaments, and this just kind of comes along with it. So they're in this position that I don't think that they expected or necessarily care to be in, but no, nevertheless they are.
Nobody wants to be in this position, but
nobody wanted to do it, but it has. I'm not going to quote Uncle Ben for you, but it has to happen. You have the responsibility, and I think the other problem is that a lot of times it's going to happen in back rooms. Like, if I had to, I really appreciate the effort that the Smash Code of Conduct people went through. It was a really harrowing process. I understand a lot of them got abused, but they decided that it was going to be anonymous people deciding on the rules for everybody. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, in bad faith and in good faith. I think there are a lot of people who just don't like the idea of it at all. I think there are some people who are for it, but ultimately they were like, well, we're appealing to ghosts. And so a lot of times when the discussion happens in the back rooms, I think it makes people uncomfortable. That's when you start getting like very, very wrong-headed, accusations of George Orwellianism. and all this stuff, even though they, it's never really accurate. But I think that, we can understand, as everyone understands, that the media, and this is the first time for the Ultra Chen podcast, I guarantee, like Chomsky wrote in the 80s about manufacturing consent. We all know that the media, any media that's large enough that can reach a bunch of people, can change sort of how people talk about things, how people think about things. But, even in smaller communities, like I said, with the NRS stuff, I've seen that work. The things people talk about, and this is just like related to like tier bullshit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to talk about things like this, I think if you have the reach and the audience and you want to talk about it like adults, you can do that. And I think if you want to have more positive, conversations about it, that's what you should do. And I'm sorry, that people get offended and people say some really nasty things, and there's a lot of fear in talking about it. But I think you have to kind of gut through it and just kind of accept that it's going to be a tough conversation, but maybe a public one that needs to be had. And that was really the point of writing that article. And I know I'm going on very long, but that was my intent.
No, it's fine. I mean,
that's what we wanted to talk about, dude. I mean, you go for it.
No, I was just about to say, you just came out with a brand new article, like literally like last week or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I've read it, but summarize for the viewers, like kind of the gist of that article.
So it was saying that I think you have to, I called it breaking the habit. I am a Linkin Park fan, but it had nothing to do with that. It was that I wanted people to not keep like, okay, Infiltration wins something, so you be mean at Capcom on Twitter for a day. You keep posting my blog just to say like, well, he did this. Like, we know anyone who says that is being disingenuous. It's not worth doing that fight every now and again. If you're gonna be mean at Capcom and that's it, that's not gonna be enough. Like, trust me, I know. I think Capcom is completely devoid of seriousness when it comes to any form of like enforcement of like rules or like bans or anything like that. To me, they've abdicated seriousness in so many aspects over the past couple of years that I can't take them very seriously. But I know they're also flexible because they serve constituents. So you have to kind of push them forward and be like, well, what is my recommendation for making it better? You can be mad about it. I'm mad about it. I still get mad about it. But I also have an ideas of like, okay, well, maybe we can change the TOS so that it means like, okay, if you harm, like if you use a tournament and you kind of rig it in some favor, like, and that's outside of this tournament, but maybe it's, in your locals, that's not good. You could get banned for that. There's a lot of reasons, like,
yeah.
There's a lot of ways you could do that. And I just think that the constant relitigation of like, I turned into some sort of digital nightmare here.
Yeah.
The constant relitigation of like the actual, the act itself is not helpful because, like I said, you're either going to have an opinion on it or you're not, and you're going to be for it or against it. Like that. It's a total binary. It's team sports. It doesn't help anybody. We got to be adults here. We've got to move forward and be like, okay, how do we change this so this never happens again?
Yeah, it's a situation where if you have looked into it in a serious way, like you'll get the conclusion that you have written about and that we talked about earlier. And if that's not something that you want to get, you won't get it now. Nope. It's already been a couple of years, and if you haven't gotten it by now, you're not gonna. Like, I feel like this is something that we run into in everyday life as well.
That's what I mean
as well. Like we're aware of this phenomenon, right?
Yeah, we're like. So like, let's bear out the example, right? Like if you want Infiltration banned now, retroactively, think about the floodgates that opens. Every bad faith moron, idiot, troll from our cap or whatever is going to start bringing out every instance of every time someone has done. Look at like a guy like I'm Still the Daddy, who he's a guy who's improved his life. He had a rough life and now he's a lot better. Yeah. You know how many people would not like him and start going like, "Hey, Capcom, did you see this? Blah blah blah. Here's his arrest record and all this." Like it's just, like, and there's context to every situation. It's not everything is the same. You can't blanket it, and that's hard. But that's part of life, right? Like that's part of like we have to make these decisions. Someone has to. This is not a democratic institution, unfortunately. I don't think installing a bureaucracy that attempts to kind of solidify it all into one, like the Smash COC, and unfortunately like the FG COC, I don't think that's going to work. And I know you worked on it, David, so I appreciate the work you did.
I mean, you're right. It has not.
Yeah, I appreciate the work everyone did. It's very difficult. This is a very difficult situation, but it does not work, and I don't want to see people work and not have their efforts bear fruit. I would like to see it move in a more constructive and that involves, making sure that TOs and stuff realize that there's people that are unsatisfied, however, small contingent they may be, and maybe there should be something in your TOS or something that might be more enforceable than what we've seen in the past. And Capcom, like I said, you can't move those guys a lot. I think, like I said, I don't think they're very serious when it comes. They will change the rules for what counts and what doesn't count on a weekly basis, depending on who's yelling at them. I just don't think they're very serious. I don't want to rely on a corporation like that to make the rules. I would rather see intra-communal efforts from the people who have the most influence, whether they realize it or not, to make that move forward. And I understand they didn't get into it for that. Like, I'm sorry, but like, my sympathy starts to run dry a little bit, because I think you know the deal by now, right? Like, now this doesn't mean like every Tom, Dick, and Harry who runs a local in, I don't know, Tempe, Arizona, right, has to think of all this stuff. They might, it might come at a very contextual, smaller level, but the bigger TOs, I think they do hold a responsibility. And like, I don't, I'm not gonna wait on like William Morris Endeavor and Ari Emanuel now owning Evo to make that decision. I just don't think it's gonna happen. So let's move the conversation forward to other avenues where we could push them. We could make we could make something better from what we have, and not just constantly like, oh, you're a bad person because you don't think this, or you're a bad person because you don't think that. Like, it's tiring. Don't you get tired of all this? I do.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think in that article that you had most recently, and you also linked to Hanzo Gonzo's tweets that were to some extent similar. You talk about how this is not an article. This one that's like blowing up infiltration specifically, right? Like it's this. No. As you're trying to talk about. You're also concerned, as you just alluded to, about having retroactive enforcement, about continuing to sort of harp on the same issues over and over again, and so I mean, as we mentioned earlier, Infiltration won the CPT not long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I mean, I don't, James commentated that, and I mean, that was his job to commentate it, and if I were there, I would have done the same thing. I mean, at some point, like, there's not as much power, and sort of we need to have. I wish that it had been handled differently. I would feel more comfortable if he had actually been punished rather than voluntarily taking a year off. And that's what happened though, and so now we're in a situation where that is what happened, and how do you move forward at that point?
Right, like, and I mentioned in the blog that like Capcom Fighters, the Twitter account, didn't even mention his name until he won. Yeah, like I would say, if you want to say like, hey, good job, like, you did the best you could, but he did win. It's not like we're going to hide the fact that he didn't win. It wasn't as fawning as like the Evo one that everybody got pissed about, rightfully, because that one was, what the hell was that? Yeah, but like, my eyeball is looking crazy here.
You're Silco.
I've turned into a Donkey Kong character.
Here we go.
So, like, I don't blame James for what he did. And I don't blame, absolutely. The unfortunate thing is that sometimes, and here's another thing, like, okay, Sun Woo Lee, the person, he might just be an asshole. He might not be a very good person, but you know what? You that's not illegal. You can say like, okay, he's an asshole. He may not, he's not remorseful. He did his, he got what his punishment was in Korea. He did what the FGC figured was appropriate. The head, the figureheads or whatever. And now he doesn't have to be sorry. He doesn't have to be accountable to anybody. And it's like the idea of like, well, he has to atone for what he did. There's not like a temperature gun that you can take and put to someone's head and go, bing, bing, bing. Oh, atoned. Good. It's a very heady, thing that is not also sadly publicly a thing. Like there is no like tweet longer he could do where it's like, that's atonement. You know what I mean? Like that, because it's not owed to any of us. It's not owed to anybody. And the problem is sometimes when you do public things that come to light that were private, like again, it's tough to forget, but this thing happened in 2017, a year before we even heard about it. Right.
Right.
So it's like sometimes like you see the bad end of like a public thing, you might know in private, whoever they may have been, it might be fine now. It might not be like, and I don't mean to put James on the spot here, but James, you host the SNK podcast. Mm-hmm. The last time I saw one of your co-hosts in a public setting was that she was part of an organization that someone spoke out against, and she was like, "You're a liar," and reporter account and all stuff. That might have been squashed in private. I don't know, but for me, like my synapses scream at me to go ape shit about it.
Yeah,
but I know I have to be stronger and go, well, okay, well, I don't know for a fact that oh, nobody knows about this and everyone's just covering it up. Like, to me, you could drive yourself crazy doing that for every situation possible. So it's a really difficult, and I'm not saying that, you know, it's a good thing that what, you know, they've done in the past. It's just, it's a really tricky thing to navigate. But it can't be like team sports where it's like you're either pro or anti. Because if you're going to be anti something, you got to stand for something. And a lot of people just sometimes don't. And that goes for a lot of things. Like, it's not, and like I said, since it's a sensitive subject, a lot of people have real trauma associated with it. And like, trauma is a thing where it's like your entire brain and like your skin is telling you there's a danger and there's not danger. And you're either on the side of danger or you're on the side of not danger. Right. And that's a really tough area to navigate. I don't blame anyone. Like, I'm really lucky that I can like talk about this and it doesn't trigger any of those things in me. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I'm willing to, you know, I'll talk about it with anybody. And, you know, like I said, I'm not like a super like, oh, you have to have me on. I'm the expert. You can use the information I've provided. That's fine. But just somebody like move the conversation from very basic yes or no. Like, I just really wish that was a thing. And like Hanzo said, though, I think there's just a fear of doing it because like I said, people get hot and they say things, you know, they'll tag you and your employer on Twitter and be like, can you believe this fucking person said that?
Look, I mean, there's money involved, and
there is.
That's not easy for anybody to navigate. You know,
No.
I mean, the people who are making decisions, you know, for example, in Capcom, I obviously wasn't privy to any of the decisions that they made, but you know, you have to understand, or I think we all assume that that's a situation where they all feel uncomfortable. They're just people who are in this position. They didn't necessarily want to be in that either. What do you do? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I wish that they had acted differently, but I also like get it. Like, there's a set of incentives that led to that result. I understand. Mm-hmm. So yeah, in any case, I think the point that you make about having to have this focus on what we're going to be doing in the future, rather than constantly looking backwards on this point and on other cases, is really important. And that's not to say like don't think about those cases. I think we should use them for precedent, how to approach the future, right?
Yeah.
But like, nevertheless, the focus has to be moving forward.
Exactly. And like, to your point, I actually had a friend bring this up to me the other day. It made me think, she reminded me of the classic quote from All the President's Men. These are a lot of people who were not very bright and got into something that was bigger than they were. There's a lot of people that just, they're flailing. They're honestly flailing because this is not what they signed up to do. It's completely new territory. Never had to navigate it before. You're going to make mistakes. I can understand that. The only problem is there's nothing to hold them accountable to make it better. Yeah. And that's the problem. And that's the problem that we have to kind of work around to solve, because if we don't, then it's just going to keep happening over and over again, and we're all going to get mad all over again. And I don't want to see, like I said, this is the thing that affects a lot of people. I don't want to see them constantly getting upset and sad about this. And I just wish there was a more constructive way of moving the conversation forward, other than link my blog post and have at it with, the war in the comment section.
All right. Well, I'm definitely on board with that. Anyway, check out your blog. Mm-hmm. We'll link to your blog.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
And, but if you're not on the video, it's themsfightingwordsblog.com.
Yes, it is. And I'm on Twitter at KingHippo42, which is, I think, already listed in the title there.
Yeah.
I'm going to expand a lot of my thoughts. It's not all serious, I promise. I review games. I retweet a lot of fan art. Like, it's all good fun.
You even had a response to me, and I'm sorry I never got back to you about the
that's
issue
okay.
of trying to get more people to play fighting games, because that's something I've been trying to dig into a lot recently as well. So,
well, James, I'm glad you brought that up, because earlier today I linked something and I tagged you guys in it that said like, hey, look, here's this animatic that I got from this artist Crimpi. It's really cool. What is that for? Well, I'll tell you. So I'm partnering with a YouTuber. You may have heard of him, called That Blasted Salami. Mostly a Tekken YouTube, mostly doing Tekken stuff. They want to start trying to branch out.
Right.
Me, Arya, and I are, we really dug each other, and we had been talking in private, and he really just wants to go ahead with a collaboration. So what's going to happen? Hopefully within the next couple weeks, I'm going to have a video out, and that animatic is going to be used as sort of like the kind of the filler pictures in between, things I'm talking about, for a video that I've done that is a video version of my response to James about why people don't play fighting games.
All right.
Okay, cool.
It's something, hopefully moving forward, there's going to be a lot of. So you can look forward to that on
Awesome.
that Blasted Salami YouTube channel. So that's
an important conversation that I don't think we're having as well in terms of the FGC. So
sure.
All right, James, hit him with the final question.
yeah. So where does your handle come from? KingHippo, and then the 42 as well, right? So.
Well, you're all old.
Answer.
You're all old, so you should be able to figure that one out.
I already know the answer. Yeah.
So,
but that's it. I mean, I don't actually know, but I'm just making educated guesses.
Was that something that you chose? Is that something that you chose, KingHippo? You know.
Yeah. So when I got an Xbox 360 of my own in like 2009, 2010, and right around that time, the Wii Punch Out had come out. Spectacular game if you never played it. And I just was really digging it, and I thought that the KingHippo, like the fight and like the secondary fight where he tapes a manhole cover to his chest and you got to knock it off. I just thought that was so funny and clever. And so my gamer tag was KingHippo, but you have to have you can't just take KingHippo. Somebody already thought of that a long time ago. So I had to pick some numbers after it, and there's a running joke amongst some of my closest friends that I sound like I'm from 1932. And like I sound like an old person, even though I'm not that old. So I ran the year 42, which to me is like, a classic World War II era person.
I mean, look, I can tell
that's
you.
Not what I thought 42 was going to be from at all. Okay.
I tell you, having been around people at that time, you don't sound that much like them. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Hey,
well,
thanks a lot for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very cool conversation.
Yeah. And just before I go, I wanted to, it's a little old fashioned, I think, to remember where you came from, to remember the people that got you to the dance. To me, it may not seem like a big deal, but to me, this is a big milestone. So I just wanted to say a special thanks to Jelani, Kyle, Aaron, John T, Dana, Scott, Abe, Dan, Jeff, Marvin, Mike P, Rick, Zane, Rika, Nam, Arnold, Sam, Michael C, Lorenzo, Terrence, Armando, Logan, Raymond, Shane, Alexis, Nico, Mark, Evan, Jeremy, Alex R, Asa, Brandon, Chase V, Ray, Keith, Robert, George, Alejandro, Oscar, Steve G, Daniel B, all members, one and all of my local fighting game community, people that have driven me from events. We've roomed at events. They've cheered for me in tough fights. They've comforted me after tough losses. I respect every single one of them, and I would not be where I am today if they had not come into my life in one way. And I'm missing so many people, but a lot of those people I truly, truly respect, and I thank them a lot for being able to be where I am today. So that's just what I wanted to get.
Awesome.
So
I appreciate that, man. That's very nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right,
cool.
dude.
Thank you for coming on.
Have
again.
a good night.
And
thank you so much, guys. Yep. Thank you.
All right, Tanner. Later
bud.
Peace.
Alrighty, there we go.
That was very wholesome. Yeah, real good guy. Again, I highly recommend checking out the blog, which is themsfightingwordsblog.com.
Yeah.
So, all right. That went on longer than our usual interviews, but I just felt like that was an important.
No, it was a good conversation to have, and it was an important one to have, and I think it's when we talk about infiltration and stuff, you expect everyone to get all heated and all this, and it's just nice to have kind of
I look forward to the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But I mean,
all right.
We definitely tried, this was, obviously we're all trying to be very objective about the whole entire thing. So, I think it kind of worked out. So, let's move on to the next thing here, which is the 5-5 matchup here. So we have a few questions here for you guys. So, David, you want to read these out while I create the poll here, as usual?
Absolutely. First of all, he did the thing as we had mentioned. That was a big part of that conversation. Yes, we did mention that he did the thing. All right, number one. With COVID perhaps being at CEO, will there be any changes with offline events going forward? Number two. What's your favorite implementation of a DP in a fighting game? Safe or unsafe, meterless, metered, counter hit state, cancelable? Ooh. Number three, if someone wants to pick up your character and they ask you for advice, but your character is very weak, what would you say? Would you advise them to play another character instead? Number four, do you guys feel like the trend of games being less execution heavy can have a positive impact on the health of the hands of players? And number five, Skullgirls just got a new fighter announced, and the second DLC is coming out early 2022, but the time between Annie, DLC 1, and Umbrella, DLC 2, has been pretty long. Does the long separation between major patches and extra fighters affect the growth of a scene? So just the general conversation, not only in the Skullgirls case. All right. Do you have the poll ready to go?
Yep, the poll should be up. Again, I don't see. I might have forgotten to set it so that people who are subscribers can vote twice, but you might as well try. In any case, make sure you vote for the one you definitely want second if you try. So you don't.
We're only doing one, as you can see on the side there.
Yeah.
So vote like there's only one that's gonna happen, because that's what's gonna happen.
Yep. And seems like, wow, okay, so we've got a few votes in here. One question is definitely very unpopular here, it seems like.
Unpopular, huh?
Yeah, as you can see in the results on the screen, one option does not even exist.
Oh, dang, nobody cares about it.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna just do a 10-second countdown. Well, I usually try to judge the trends. The trend seems to be things are evening out here, and some questions are trying to make a jump. But let's do a. I don't see very many votes coming in, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I am going to call it. And oh wait, hang on a second. I just picked the exact wrong time to call it because we just ended in a tie.
What? Did we really?
Number 3 is 33%.
Like if I'll stop it now. It's literally like 32. It's like, Jesus.
I mean, is it a tie or it's not a tie?
Here, look. Let me show you.
Number 3, it is.
Look how it ended. Look, this. I shut it down and look how it ended.
Oh wow. Okay. Bummer.
It's 30.77 for number 1 and number 3.
I see. Well, let's do number 3. What do you guys think?
It was leading.
Yeah, let's do number 3.
Yeah, it was leading at first, so let's go ahead and do number 3. So if someone wants to pick
that's
up,
my vote as well. I cast the tie-breaking vote right now. I vote for number 3.
Yo, you just pulled a peppermint patty, dude. That's awesome. It's one of my favorite clips from Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, when they're trying to vote for who's.
Oh, nobody's ever seen that.
Nobody's ever seen it, but it's such a great scene. It's such a great scene.
I don't mean to blow you up. It's classic. If number 3, if someone wants to pick up your
that thing
character
is
and
not
they
even-
ask you for advice, but your character is very weak, what would you say? Would you advise them to play another character instead? Let me tell you that this is using a conjugation of that verb that I don't need to get involved in at all, because I've been here. I've been in this world. Someone wants to pick up Q and they ask me for advice. That has been happening for 15 years.
David,
15 years.
David, I was thinking about picking up Q. Can you give me some advice?
Yeah, my advice is pick another character, buddy. That's what my advice is.
But I want to play Q.
Okay, well then let me ask you this question, hypothetical
All right.
person Tupperware is playing.
Sure.
Do you want to compete in tournaments, or are you going to play against the computer? Are you going to have fun with your buddy?
I'm a competitor.
Yeah, you're out there to win events?
Yeah, I'm trying to go as far as I can go. Test my limits.
Okay, your limits are you're going to get top 8 at your local once or twice. Congratulations. It's going to feel terrible. You're going to notice a lot of situations where you've made decisions that are good and they don't get you as much as the other people whose decisions are also good, right? You're not any more genius than anybody else necessarily, but the tool that you have means that if you're right, you get one standing medium kick, and they get crouching medium kick super into Oki and into corner control. And there's just a very, very clear difference between what he can do and what he cannot. If you're the biggest genius on earth, then you might be able to win matches with Q. But if you're the biggest genius on earth, you still don't beat everybody with Q. That's how it is. And I've seen that. I've seen the biggest geniuses in fighting games play that character and have more success than other people with that character, but not as much success as when they are not. No, I'm not speaking of myself. No. I'm talking about a guy who took himself out of the scene. Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Look.
Took himself out of the public.
Yes, he sure did. Well, I'm glad that he was taken out.
I mean, yeah,
but he's a Street Fighter genius for sure. And he had some success with Q, but he didn't have as much as with other characters. And that is the test. Like you're just not going to have as much success. So if you would like to enjoy looking at the character on the screen, because he's cool looking, And if it matters to you that you're like not giving up and playing another character, okay, but that's going to have to be traded off against the fact that you'll be frustrated a lot of the time, that you won't have as much success, and that your other friends are going to be enjoying themselves more in more obvious ways than you will be. That's my advice.
People have asked me, I want to learn Cammy in Super Turbo. What's the advice? And I tell them to play different characters. Literally, that's my answer. I do tell them to go play somebody else because, I mean, look, same kind of story. Nakamura, best Cammy in Japan. At least top 1 or 2 best Cammy in Japan. He plays at Hey Arcade. I saw him. I met him there. We both played Cammy at Hey Arcade. And he was losing to most people, you know, like, I mean, that's just the life that you choose.
That's the life. Yeah.
Right. But like David says, it really comes down to what's your goal? If you just want to have fun, like, that's cool. Like, also, if you like that, if you like trying to prove that you can win with a low tier character because it gives you some sort of sadistic pleasure, I mean, that's kind of where I stand right now. I mean, not to bring up an old subject, but you know, Tubo has denied this many times, but Lucia is always ranked really low on everybody's tier list in Street Fighter V. She's always at the bottom. She is not a great character, and she appeals to me more than Cammy does in Street Fighter V right now. Probably because of that. Partially because of that, because I like the struggle in a weird way, you know. But also, it's also fun to use a character that nobody else uses. But if that's your goal, more power to you. Do it. Do it, absolutely. But if you are seriously like, hey, I want to win Capcom Cup because I want $250,000 that will change my life, play somebody else. Please play somebody else. Like for example, don't play Fong. Oh wait, shoot, never mind. Okay.
Well, but look, even in Mono's case, well, Mono won a big tournament for sure, and he's a really good player. But it also took him 5 years to do it, in part because that character was bad for a lot of that time. Really, and finally, the character's not bad. It's not like the top tier character, but it's like good enough to do it. And in my mind, like, it's not unrelated that he won it now. The character can do it, so he did it. Before, the character couldn't do it, so he didn't do it, right? And so if you would like to win big events, don't pick bad characters.
I mean, look how many people dropped Ibuki, because a lot of people consider Ibuki bad now, right? I mean, we had some of the best players, Sien and Fujimura were some of the best players, and neither of them will touch Ibuki anymore because, you know, they're trying to win $250,000.
Well, you've also played bad character.
Have I?
Yeah, you played Blanca in Street Fighter 4.
Street Fighter 4.
Listen, man, one time somebody came to me and they're like, you know, should I play Rash? And I'm just like, yeah. And they're like, should I play Nova? And I'm like, yeah. And should I play Virgil? And I'm like, yeah. And should I play Strider? And I'm like, yeah. And should I play... I don't pick bottom tier anymore. You know why? Because I picked bottom tier once and I learned my fucking lesson.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, never ever tell someone they should play bottom tier in games where tiers are very far spread apart.
Yeah.
I think Street Fighter V is actually really well balanced.
Yeah.
I don't think you're damning yourself if you play a lower tier character in that game.
You're right.
You might have to play more than one. Like, you might have to have a backup for certain bad matchups, but...
again, the game is, like you said, though, it's just so well balanced
it's very tight. It's very tight. But in, like, Marvel 3, there's no way in hell I'm going to tell you to play Phoenix Wright or Shenko or Ghost Rider. Like, why... I feel like I would be ruining your experience by doing that. Like, you're probably not going to win with those characters.
Yep. Exactly.
Or have as much fun. Like, you're going to be frustrated a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not just that you don't win. Again, we all speak from experiences. We've all had this experience. It's not fun to travel to an event. I remember specifically having this conversation. All right, we're in the car on our way to a tournament over on the East Coast where I lived for a while, and my buddies and I are like, "All right, hey everybody, how do you think you're going to do in the event?" We're in the car, and you know we're going around the car. Oh, I've been looking forward to making top 8. I think I'm going to win this event. I think I'm going to win this event, and it comes around to me, and I say, I don't think I'm going to make top 8. And they're like, why? You're a smart player. And my answer, and they were like, is it because you play Q? And I was like, yeah, it's because I play Q. and I'm being realistic, and I'm trying to do my best. But my realistic answer is that I probably won't make top 8. And that's not great as a feeling. they were really good players, right? In fact, some of them were better than me for sure. But knowing that my chances were bad even before I got there, it's just not a good feeling. It just is not a good feeling. So when I, since then I have played characters that range from like decent to great. I just haven't played in Street Fighter V Season 1. Yeah, this is very.
You look like a Gusher commercial.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
yeah,
dang.
dude.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, because
in Street Fighter V Season 1, I picked up Fang at first, and I was like, this character's really cool. And I played him for a month, and I was like, can't do it. I don't want to go down this road. I've been here. Not going to do this again. So.
And again, it just depends on what your goal is, right? If your goal is to find the low tier character, go online and grief people with that character and try to make them feel bad because you beat them with that character, more power to you. If you're not like in the car where I don't think I'm gonna make top 8 because you just don't go to tournaments, it all depends on what your goal is in for playing the character. If it's just something like, I just want to play this character because I just think Fang is the coolest looking character, do it, play him. Yeah. Like in season one, I should say.
That's legit. Yeah. If there are other reasons, for sure. By the way, do not use the OS that is being brought up in the chat of, if I win, I'm godlike, and if I lose, obviously I lose. Like that's not my. I'm not trying to say that that's what I was doing. I don't like that. And I didn't like that even when I played Q. I wanted to be realistic with myself rather than say that if I ended up winning that I'm a genius. That was not my goal. And I don't think that that's good to do. Like you're not helping yourself by doing this option select. It's going to mean that you're not going to be as good as you could be. Look, I tried to be as good as I could with Q. That was my honest attempt.
What David's actually telling you guys is the real option select is I don't even play this game.
I played it a ton, and I was trying to be good, and
no matter what you win.
I reached a maximum for myself, and it was not where I would have if, as I have told the story many times, I then played Chun-Li for 1 month and made top 8 at Family Fun Arcade. So
I 100% use that OS.
You should not. It's stupid.
I always use that OS. Using Cammy and ST, it's the only way you can make yourself happy, man. If you play Cammy and ST, it's the only way you can make yourself happy.
It's not good.
You just maybe not play Cammy.
Exactly right. Yep.
That's my advice to you, James. Don't pick a bottom tier.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Correct. You're right. I shouldn't play Cammy in it, but that's just like I said. That's my. It's the character I feel the most comfortable with, unfortunately now. So.
All right, let's move on, and we are gonna absolutely rifle through these topics.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter because most of these are pretty short at this point going forward here. So let's just do this really quick. Skullgirls' second encore also had announcements at CEO as well. They had an Umbrella trailer where they actually got to show more of Umbrella, more of what she does. Keeping her umbrella hungry and fed and stuff affects how the umbrella affects, how the umbrella attacks, etc., etc. And then also at the very end revealed the next character in their season 1 DLC, Black Dahlia. Again, I have no information, and I don't even remember Black Dahlia being one of the characters that we voted on in the Kickstarter or the Indiegogo a long time ago. Like that wasn't one of the characters.
100 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even remember that character. Yeah. I'm sure she was there. But a lot of people seem very happy that she's there for reasons, as you can see in the chat right there. So
yeah. She sounds cool.
I agree.
Yeah, all right, it sounds like she's important to the storyline, so that's really cool.
Yeah, she murdered a bunch of people. That's all I know.
Oh, dang. Okay. 3 new characters have been given trailers, the trailers, hey, here's 4 moves and they're super. Grappler, Striker, and Ranger have been revealed in DNF Duel.
Ranger looks sick. Ranger looks like what I wanted Happy Chaos to be. Like, I think Happy Chaos is sick, don't get me wrong. I think Happy Chaos is hella dope. But man, I just wanted guns blazing constantly. Like that character looks so dope.
Yeah,
I actually agree. I'm not typically a gunslinger type character, archetype player, but I think that he looks cool. I agree with that.
Yeah, he looks super.
And
dope.
Grappler, I think looks like a grappler. Maybe I don't know. That's my guess.
Yeah, and
all I
Striker
have.
definitely has a certain appeal factor, I think, that they're going for with that character. So, but yeah,
But yeah, we still don't know very much, so we'll continue reporting on this as it comes. All right, we move on to the next one.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has released its final patch. A lot of people were probably expecting it to just be like this small thing, but this is the final balance patch. Now, obviously, they're still going to release other things for bug fixes and such, but in terms of balance, this is it. And a lot more in there than I guess people were expecting. Lots of very small adjustments. Like this move now does 3% more damage. This move has a slightly more knockback. What are you pointing at?
Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
Did I put Brawl? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Just magically transported to like a dozen years ago.
Okay. Ultimate.
Yeah, in this latest Brawl patch, they took out tripping, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Dude.
Meta Knight got nerfed. Actually, maybe he got buffed. Let's see buffed.
Yeah, they were probably
man.
buffed him, yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, so final patch comes out. There are a lot of little tweaks. Nothing changed on Little Mac. So Little Mac will still be really terrible, as I predicted. So there you go. Okay. Nick Brawl has announced a new character. They're putting... I mean, Nick Star All-Star Brawl shows it hates Mondays, but we all love Tuesdays by adding Garfield. That's what I have written down there. So, but yeah, so Garfield of fame of Garfield minus Garfield fame is there. I mean, because does that make sense? Can you say?
I mean, I get it. Yeah.
If he's famed for not being in the comic, I mean.
Maybe they'll have some reference to that. Maybe he can teleport or something. Maybe he can turn invisible.
If he had like a super that was he just disappeared
invisible.
and he just isn't there anymore, and they called it Garfield minus Garfield, is be amazing, dude.
It would be, but
that would be so good.
Anyway, he looks like Garfield, is what I'll say about that.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Looks real Garfield-like.
He looks very Garfieldy.
I mean, I would. Anyways, okay, yeah. Virtua Fighter 5 has added a ton of costumes, including a bunch of Yakuza-based costumes. A lot of people have wanted them just to add new characters to the game. Don't know if they would be able to do that, but they did add a bunch of new costume options there, so you can definitely make your characters look like the characters from Yakuza, so definitely check that out. Lorenzo music, yes. It's so funny, too. I mean, look, sorry, like, this is not related to the last topic, and I'm just gonna say this. The funniest thing about this is that Lorenzo Music voiced Garfield, but then he also voiced Peter Venkman in the Ghostbusters cartoon because he kind of sounds like Bill Murray. Well, when they released the Garfield movie, Bill Murray voiced Garfield.
Yeah.
In that movie, and I just think that that's hilarious. So those two are inextricably tied to each other.
Somebody's last name is Music, huh?
Yeah, Lorenzo Music is his name. Yeah.
That's very unusual. Cool. Anyway, we're moving on to the next one.
This one, I mean, I could tell you about it. The Panda Global controller Kickstarter for a new GameCube controller that's a little bit more
$1 billion in one day.
A little more ergonomic, and they have this Kickstarter for it. It's set to $100,000. It is currently at $1.333 million. So they've already they have to probably come up with new stretch goals. But this shows you...
Dude, yeah, they had stretch goals that were like at 150K, and they met 100,000. Whatever their amount was, I think it was 100K to start with. That got met in literally an hour.
Yeah.
And it was blown past that by the time I even saw it. I saw it at like an hour and a half after it was out.
To be fair, if the controller lives up to what it's supposed to be, they deserve it. Holy shit. That controller looks incredible.
Yeah. And I saw some people who I think aren't familiar with GameCube controllers saying like, wow, it's $90 for the controller, right? $90 for a controller? Controller should be like $40 or $50. Dude, do you understand how much money Smash folks spend on GameCube controllers? They are pumping out hundreds of dollars per year on GameCube.
Yeah, I mean, and tell that
apart,
to these things
modding
here.
them.
These
your little
like
Joy-Con baby.
$80, dude.
honestly,
Yeah,
like
that's true. Joy-Cons are 80 bucks.
there's a dwindling amount of GameCube controllers, and they need to have the sticks work in certain ways, and there are mods for all sorts of different little parts of it, including the triggers, and like it's just a very complicated thing. And it costs a lot of money. And if you could just instead buy something that is $90 and it would last you for a while, that is way better. So
Yeah.
I'm super hyped for that, as people, absolutely deserve how much of support that they're getting. I think that's great.
And again, one of the big deals to me is that, like with one of the questions, about what we had being less execution heavy can have a positive impact on the health of the hands of players. The GameCube controller destroys hands. It literally destroys hands. I mean, we have one of the gods, PPMD, who basically can't even play anymore because his hands are like David's camera view right now. I mean, it's not functional at this point. So if we can get a controller that's more ergonomic, that we don't have to worry about a spring R trigger for L cancels and stuff like that, I think that's super important. I think that's really, really important.
All right, moving on. Shout outs to everybody there.
Yeah,
this past weekend was cool. There was an event that was celebrating Family Fun Arcade, which was one of the biggest arcades in SoCal and, in fact, in the U.S. for many years. It was the heart of the Third Strike scene in particular, but it was also the heart of, you might say, a couple other games too. And in any case, for many games, was really strong. It also was one of the first places in the U.S. that was, in fact, even in the world, that was regularly doing content among fighting game weekly events. And so, people from other parts of the country, or I guess the world, watched Family Fun Rambats regularly for Third Strike and for other games. And just a very storied spot. Lots of cool things went down there. Lots of gross things probably went down there too. And it went out of business in 2013 is my memory. It's something like that. And it hasn't been there in a while, at least in that form. And they actually donated. There's a museum in the valley, the San Fernando Valley, which is the area where Family Fun was. There's a museum of relics from the valley, and it has all sorts of old stuff, all sorts of cool stuff. Very interesting place, and it has some of the cabinets and the sign from Family Fun. So anyway, this is the location, and they brought in a bunch of cabinets. And they had people create merchandise related to Family Fun. And there was the Okamoto Kitchen food truck there from a FGC member as well. And it was just a really cool event, hanging out with people and playing games.
Gerald, who runs the Okamoto food truck, has said that Ralph was his first employer. That he worked at Family
Ralph,
Fun
the owner
Arcade.
of
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Ralph's the owner of Family Fun, and as well as a bunch of other arcades in the whole SoCal area. And it was crazy, dude. He remembered me. I was like, hey, Ralph, like I'm David. I used to go to the arcade, and he was like, oh yeah, I remember you. But I thought that was cool. And anyway, I saw people there who I haven't seen in person in at least 2 years, but also people who I haven't seen at all for almost a decade as well. Yeah. So it was really cool for me.
I definitely ran into
including James. James was there.
I definitely ran into a few people.
For the invite, guys.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. We just you have nothing to do with Family Fun, so we were like.
Yeah, you're not family friendly or fun, and you don't know anything about arcades, noob.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw people there that I was like, hi, and they were like, who is this guy? Because I had the mask on and my hair, it was Gerald and his wife, the two people who run Okamoto Kitchen, were standing there talking. And I was talking with Gerald, and she walks up and starts talking. And I just keep looking at her, like I want to wave hi to her and stuff. And she just started looking really uncomfortable, like, who is this dude staring at me?
She didn't recognize you? Oh, wow.
No, she didn't recognize me right away. And then at one point, it hit her, and she was like, oh my God, James, oh my God. And she's like, immediately, she...
That's funny.
It's kind of funny. Because no one remembers me with this hair, dude. Oh, man.
But I got to say, first time I've seen it in person, I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. Nice. A lot of people liked it. So I got stuck playing Tempest. There was a lot of old arcade games there that you could play. Yeah. And, I hate doing this. But God, people could not play video games like that anymore these days. They would get so mad because those games are brutal. Those games are just like designed to destroy you, and yet people can get so good at them that they can just dominate the game. It's fascinating. But Tempest is just one of those games that you can't ever play at home because you need a paddle controller for it. And otherwise, I would actually like to try to get good at that game. I swear, it would actually be fun.
Shout outs to everybody there and for putting on the event. It was really great. Thank you very much. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that museum had only opened up like 3 years ago. The place had
Mm-hmm.
only opened up like 3 years ago, and it's just really cool. So,
all right, we're moving on.
All right, little bits of community information. Whoops, I forgot to put the last one in here. Mini doc. Let's just do that. Desk, I always like to promote Desk stuff, old school. I'm an old school combo video maker. Desk is the only remaining combo video maker in the world. He has a cool day one Luke combo video, so if you want to check that out. Someone made this really cool Third Strike fan-made intro. Did you see that, David?
Yeah, I did see that. It was cool.
No.
I wonder if I can play it on here. It is the only thing that's on it is game music. I wonder if I can play it on here and not get DMCA'd or anything like that. And I don't think the guy who made it would be sad of us for putting this up on the stream.
Well, I mean, if you could do it. Oh, you already have it. Okay.
Yeah, I already have it. I can do it super quick here. Let's do this.
Cool.
There we go. So let's play this. Let's turn up the volume. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 3.
That was very cool.
Yes, and you can see here all the credits here while Sean gets destroyed in the cabinet over here, animated by Kathan. You can see their Twitter here on your screen. Special thanks to all these people, including Samuel Dietz, who is the brother of Adam Dietz, who is Kamui from Texas. So that was that video. Very, very cool.
Cool, man.
That's on the channel is literally just Kathan, Kathan. So definitely, if you want to find that again, you can actually do that. Just check it out over there. But I just thought it was really cool to see and to.
Oh my God, you're hideous.
I'm going through all sorts of impressionist
Dude,
phases.
I don't know
Really
why
are,
it's OBS Ninja's being.
I broke
punk.
my teeth recently. I don't know if I told you guys that. Okay.
Wait, you did what?
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Okay. Shoot. And then one other thing too, someone actually pointed out to me, I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, but someone actually created like a little documentary about Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and how it was like the fighting game that never had a real chance because of COVID. And I just thought that was really interesting. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I think it's cool that we have, content about fighting games like that. I'll put it in the chat right now so you guys can check it out. If you guys want to watch it and let us know in feedback as well on YouTube comments or whatever like that. It's the action video. I don't know much about that organization, but if you guys know more about it, apparently, according to the chat, that Action makes some good stuff. So that's really cool. So a lot of people are saying it's a really good video. So there you go. But yeah, check that out if you guys have a chance.
By the way, that's spelled AKSHON.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then upcoming stuff, I hinted at this. This coming up weekend is going to be an event in Seattle run by Bonus Round and Faustian. It's a Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur 6 event. I was invited to go up to do that, to go there to do some commentary, so I will actually be traveling up there. I figured it would be a good way to get myself back into traveling and remember how to travel and how to pack before Frosty Faustings. So that's the plan.
You're assuming
basically.
Frosty's going to hire you, bub. You still haven't even applied, all right?
I didn't need to. See, that's the thing, right? That's what happens when you're amazing and the
You
best.
see these big timers. You see these top commentators. You see how they act.
These big, I don't know, not me. Not
They're
me.
worse than the top players.
This is what happens when you're just the best. It's just the way it works. So, but yeah, no, I'm going to be going up there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to meet a lot of the people that play on my SoCal distancing that I've never met in person.
Cool.
So, it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check that out if you guys... I don't remember the channel that it's going to be on directly, but just follow me on Twitter. I'll definitely tweet it out once it starts up. Tekken 7 is definitely the main event there, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So Soul Calibur 6 action there, so it's going to be cool. So
All right. Well, you know what else is coming up is Tupperware. What do we got? What do we got coming up Thursday?
Thursday? Oh, the Game Awards! The Game Awards! The Game Awards! I was like, wait, what? What's Thursday? The Game Awards are Thursday.
Yeah.
You mean the Game Awards hosted by Jeff Keighley
I do.
at 8 p.m. Central on Thursday, December 9th?
Okay.
I think. Yeah, that's got to be the 9th. Yeah, Game Awards. So, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a fan who took a picture with Ed Boon and John Tobias, who are in LA, presumably for the Game Awards. And I don't know if you guys remember this. Mortal Kombat 11 was announced at the Game Awards, 4 years ago now? So I would say it's probably about time NRS announces something. I would assume Ed Boon being there. Look, man, I know Warner Brothers has a lot of games that they released. Back 4 Blood just came out. I don't think Ed is going out to LA to cheer these games on in a pandemic. All right, I think he's there to announce something. I just don't know what it could be. I don't think it's Mortal Kombat 12. I honestly don't think it's Injustice 3.
Really?
I don't get the there's every time Injustice 3, every time these games come, there's rumors of these games that they're coming out, right? Something slips through the cracks. That's how fighting games are. Shit gets leaked, right? There hasn't been any substantial NRS leak recently. Only thing I can think of was the Marvel stuff 6 months ago, and I just don't really believe that.
Well,
I don't believe that Disney's going to give up their IPs to Warner Brothers.
I have seen more recent rumors since then about other stuff.
Have you?
I have. That I'm not going to get into because I don't like to spread or spoil that kind of stuff.
What the hell? David!
Okay, all right. Here's the spoilers, all right? If you don't want to hear them, well, spoilers. Obviously, I don't know anything. But these are the rumors.
Hit us with the rumors.
I'm going to give you 3 seconds. All right, here you go. It already happened. Again, I don't know anything. The rumor is only that they're going to be doing Mortal Kombat, but it's MK11 with all of the previous Mortal Kombat characters. By the way, I'm looking crazy right now. Okay.
With every character ever of all time.
With all the characters from MK9 and MKX who were not in MK11.
Right, gotcha.
That's the rumor.
All right.
I don't know. That doesn't seem...
Even though they very specifically announced we are not working on Mortal Kombat 11 anymore.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean,
sure.
that could have been
seems
to
like a
throw
weird
us
choice.
off. That could have been to throw us
Well,
off.
I mean,
so.
I think there's 2 ways you could take that. One is that, okay, that means this rumor is stupid. And to be fair, it's probably stupid. But also, it could be that this is just MK12, that they're just here, now it's MK, or maybe it's MK Universe. What about that title? And it's all the games. What about it's MK Everybody's Here? What about that?
Everybody's here.
It's called it's going to be called the Mortalverse, right? So we'll have multiverse and the Mortalverse.
Yeah,
there you go. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what I expect is Marvel versus DC.
There's no way. There's no way this happens. There's zero chance Marvel versus DC gets made by NRS or ever, probably.
Yeah, or ever. My real expectation, you don't think Ed Boon is just a famous video game guy and he just gets to go to this stuff? He probably just gets to go to this stuff.
Yeah, of course. But during a pandemic, you're really going to go all the way to LA with your old buddy John Tobias?
I mean, they just get
I
to
don't
do
buy
stuff.
it.
I don't know. I don't
buy it. I don't buy it. They're announcing something.
You don't think there's other stuff to do in my city, huh? You think you got to be going to LA only
No,
for
I've
one
been there.
reason?
I've been there. I literally came there.
Hey, by the way, guys, did you know that Boone and Tobias backwards is Noob Saibot, and that's where it comes from?
Jesus Christ. Let's do the mailbag.
All right. Yep. Which we're also, by the way, going to be rifling through.
Mailbag here. Let me pull up the mailbag questions. and get the pasted in here. Sorry, I should have done this ahead of time. All right, so our first mailbag question comes courtesy.
By the way, WB has offices here in SoCal. I just want to point that out. Like
Yeah.
maybe he's just going to WB to visit
No
them.
way, man.
What
I
about
don't
that?
buy it.
What about
Nope.
that?
Nope.
The first
Listen,
question
man, I know
we
you're on
have
the
for the
payroll.
question. The first question we have on the docket comes from Investigation Cone, who asks, "A wizard?"
Genius.
I would pick the human wizard.
Yeah, a wizard. First of all, are wizards human?
Sure.
Not necessarily. It depends on which
Who
lore you
knows?
like.
I'm
Maybe
picking the
we're-
human one.
Maybe we're doing Tolkien and wizards aren't humans.
I'm doing the human one.
All right. Anyway,
I'm going to
great-
just
great
say
question. I love
that
it.
wizard needs food badly. There we go. Okay.
Is this an in joke that you two have? Is that the point of this?
Yes, probably.
Probably. All right,
What?
we move on.
No. Wait, dude, you guys, God, I can't believe I'm dating
Yeah, we're not
myself
60.
again. You guys don't play. You guys never played Gauntlet. I mean, come on, dude.
Not
Wizard
in 100
needs
years.
food badly.
Yeah, last time I played the original Gauntlet, I was probably like 6 years old.
Elf shot the food. Ow! Dude, okay, come on.
Nope.
Greatest game ever.
Hey,
Anyways,
Tinkerin, they're running a tournament. I don't know if those are friends of yours. You're from the same age group. You might
Nutacon
have
via
to talk to
Twitter
them.
asks, "Hey, a wizard stubs his toe on a concrete lawn gnome and has to sit down for a while. While resting, he ponders, not going 0-2 is a common goal for improving. What are some other goals or milestones that beginner/intermediate players can use to motivate themselves?"
Boy. All right.
What the hell laugh was that, dude? That was like...
That was the nefarious David laugh.
Just a
I
very
know,
normal
right?
laugh in response
right,
to
sure.
a very normal question.
Uh-huh.
Look, not going 0-2 is a common goal for improving. What are some other goals that beginner or intermediate players can use? What about going 1-2 or 2-2? What about going 3-2? Huh? That's why you come to the Ultra 10 show for insights like that. All right,
Yes.
everybody, congratulations. You're welcome. I'm expecting
I'm
a.
shutting David off forever now. Here we go.
An honest answer is little things like, did you anti-air? Did you whiff punish? Did you do an optimal punish on a whiffed uppercut? You know, like, are you optimizing at all? Things like that. Even if you don't win, you can feel and tell if you're playing better and smarter and making better decisions. So just focus on that stuff.
Sounds right.
My answer is going to be no. If this is obviously means you're going to a tournament, you're going to a local or something like that. So not trying to go 0-2 as a beginner sounds like a local thing. The other goals of improving are gather enough courage to play during the casuals. Try to make friends with other people who are at the event.
You say
get
you go to
know
fighting
people.
game tournaments to make friends?
Basically, yeah. Watch people play a lot. Like, watch the top players play a lot and just kind of see how they adjust to situations. Try to pick out things that they do. And, if you can, try to ask advice from people. Honestly,
Those are ways to get better. Those aren't like bars of showing yourself that you've improved, though.
Well, I mean,
Those are ways to get to that spot.
But that's my point, though. I think those should be bars to set for yourself. Play a casual match with people, because those are all things that will help you realize the improvement.
All right,
Because
I got $100 idea, because that's about all we'd ever make from this. We should make an FGC goal improvement app, and we can have all these things, achievements. Talk to a new player, play a 1st to 5 with the guy that won the tournament or whatever. These could all be things that we put on an app for people to help themselves improve in fighting games, and we would make maybe $98. It would be sick.
achievements, I like it. I like the way you're
By the way,
thinking here.
I do like what 16-bit says, which is I think a good goal is to lose because you got outplayed, rather than to lose because you made a mistake or you didn't do whatever the punish was.
That's
Right?
a
Like
good one.
to feel
But-
like even if you didn't win, that it was a case of you getting outplayed rather than like an actual.
The hardest part about that one is I don't think most beginners can tell the difference.
It just depends on where you are in the beginner's league.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on.
Next question comes from Zachary, who asks, you ran your big mouth again and now have a high-stakes 2v2 basketball match to play versus Lucky Glauber and Sean. Which fighting game character do you choose to be on your team? They must be under 7.5 feet, and supernatural powers and technological implements are not allowed.
Oof. By the way, I love that this question implies a backstory. You ran your mouth again? Why are you always running your mouth?
Well, look in your character.
You're always running your mouth.
I'm just going to say that I do not think that Dalsum counts as a supernatural power. And for the most part, he is under 7.5 feet. So
Well, James, I'm going to hit you with some Street Fighter lore. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Dalsum's limbs don't actually stretch. Dalsum uses the power of yoga to make his opponents think that he's stretching over and hitting them. He's so powerful in the mind game of yoga that he makes people take damage from their brain, telling them that his limbs stretched over and hit them. So you would just be playing with a Dalsum that doesn't actually stretch anywhere. You wouldn't actually be able to put the ball in the basket.
Well, then
because
the
that's not a
opponents would
person
just...
that the basket's not fooling you.
Yeah, but the thing is...
you can't fool the basket, so he can't score. Because
Yeah, he can't score. You can't fool the
Wow.
basket.
Yeah,
Wow.
but all Dalsum has to do is just like stretch over there, and they'd be like, he's over there, and they would run after him. So he would still have another power like that. So
I feel like that is approaching supernaturality in my
Yeah, I
view.
would think so.
My initial reaction is to maybe say 12, but that might be technological. What are you laughing at? That's a good answer.
Why 12? Why would you pick 12?
12 can fly. He's just gonna air dash over and dunk it right away. Why not? That's obviously
that's
a good answer.
traveling, dude.
No, it's not. He's jumping, but he's gonna be in the air. That's not a travel. But that might be technological implementation that is banned here.
Yeah, I mean he's literally like a clone, right? Like a machine.
What?
clone.
He got science. I don't know the
Yeah,
backstory.
he got science.
What normal human would you pick?
What normal human would I pick?
I mean, that's what the question is going for.
I mean,
What
someone
normal human?
suggested Shaq, if you count Shaq Fu, right?
Yo, dude,
Yeah.
Shaq Fu counts. Oh, but
Shaq
he's
Fu counts.
and he is under 7'5". Dang, that's a great
Yeah.
answer.
And even if he didn't have to use his superpowers from Shaq Fu, he's still Shaq in his prime. So I think that's the ultimate answer. Or
Well,
literally
Sean is
anybody
already-
from NBA. NBA 2K counts as a video game, right?
Sean
so
is
literally,
already-
I could take anybody I want.
No, but it
from
says
NBA.
fighting game character.
Fighting
What
game
fighting game
fighting
character?
game. Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
we're
Shaq's gotta
already
be the
fighting
answer.
against Sean, so we can't pick Sean. So
Yeah, you'd Shaq from Shaq
gotta
Fu
be
is like
Shaq.
the optimal answer for sure. No, that's not a fighting game. Shit. I mean, I guess you fight in it, but I was gonna say Michael Jordan in the Windy City. That's a video game that was on SNES where he threw basketballs at his opponent, and it was a terrible video game. But I guess I won't count. It's not technically a fighting game.
I don't think that counts. Ooh, wow! Now I'm like leaking green stuff.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Wow.
I've enjoyed it all night.
What a night! Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one.
dude, I don't know why OBS Ninja is shit in the bed today. So
Well, I'll have you know, James, it's now VDO Ninja, okay?
yeah, sorry. Okay.
Jeez, they changed their name.
All right, John Toy via Twitter. Dune Cross Star Wars 2v2 Tag Fighter. What's your team and what assists?
Dang.
All right, I'm playing Luke, Mace Windu. Luke is on point. Obviously, Mace Windu is in the back with the purple saber throw. That's
Okay.
going to be his assist. Luke's assist would be some sort of uppercut because I just imagine that's what they would give.
He would be
him.
boring. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. So, also, I don't know anything about Dune, so that's why my team is all Star Wars. I'm assuming Jedi wreck whatever Doom has, but I really don't know.
I mean, they would, because the people in Dune, well, they're humans mostly.
Mostly.
I'm not going to get into it too much, but
All right.
some of them are not in kind of certain ways anyway.
I mean,
all right.
one of my characters would be Yoda because all of the combos would drop on him, and
That was actually a problem in Soul Calibur 4.
yeah, and people would have trouble hitting him because he's so short, right? So probably him, and then who else is like? I'm just trying to think because there's definitely a lot of characters in the Star Wars universe that have like plot armor, you know, like they're just super undefeatable because they need to be super undefeatable for reasons. But I mean, I think,
like Mando and Mandalorian so far, that dude should have been dead like 60 times.
yeah, I mean, like Cad Bane in the Clone Wars was like he was impossible to kill and shit for no reason. But I would probably say I would go with you know what, Anakin, because then he would have stances. He'd be able to switch to young Anakin and Darth Vader, so he would have the stances. He would have the stance switch. So Yoda and stance switch Anakin. There you go.
You're turning on the dark side and turning it off, huh?
Yeah, basically.
That's how it works.
I think that's how it works. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah, Darth Maul. Cartoon Darth Maul. Weird British accent cartoon Darth Maul that I hate would be another plot armor guy who is impossible to kill. But
I was actually going to say Darth Maul. That was going to be my Star Wars character. And then as far as Dune goes, I feel like Duncan Idaho is like the best fighter, but then he dies, so who knows?
spoilers!
Wait. There's someone named Duncan Idaho?
Yeah.
Like a potato. That's their name.
Like Idaho potato.
Like
Idaho's
Idaho
a state.
potatoes.
Are you aware of that?
I mean, yeah, I'm aware that it's a state.
Okay.
But like, come on, like, what's more famous, potatoes or the state of Idaho? It's definitely potatoes.
I guess.
If you have a giant
potatoes are
tub
many
of
places.
cheese, if you have a giant tub of cheese
Yeah,
and you dipped a potato in there, you would be Duncan,
Yeah.
Idaho.
yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. I was thinking like potato chips getting dunked, and that's like what they came up with this guy's name. But anyways,
I feel like maybe I would play Beast Raban. I think that he would be a grappler. He seems like a grappler character, and that's gonna be my choice.
sure.
I think Baron Harkonnen could have some interesting gameplay with flight mechanics. He could be the Magneto of the game. Is my take on this. And
Which character would have the background throat music?
just some unnamed Sardaukar. I don't know.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right. It's actually Shai Hulud. That's who I would play. I would just be riding this gigantic sandworm.
Arctic Shoto asks, who would make a better hockey goalie, Honda, Sub-Zero, or Glacius?
Dang, what a great question.
It's very obviously Sub-Zero.
Okay.
Sub-Zero fills the net with ice. You can't score on him.
Okay, well, answer me this, though. And I've always...
Yeah.
This is something I've been thinking about since I was a little kid, actually. Why don't you hire
Okay.
the biggest human you could find to just stand in front of the net?
Right.
Just have the most obese person on earth
Yeah.
lie down in front of the net.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
because-
kind of why I would have picked Honda as well. And not
It's
only
Honda.
that, but 100 hand slap? How are you going to get anything past him, dude? He's hitting like 17 spots at once. He doesn't even have to, like if you hit the puck over here, he just has to go, hoo, 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 and that's it. And he'll block it at some point.
like his hands are moving so fast that they need a blur effect. He's a very, very fast guy, and he's also very
Yeah.
large. And I think Glacius would be a good one too. Glacius basically can shapeshift, right? So that would be very helpful in being a goalie. Why not just shapeshift into being everywhere all over the goal? I think
As
these are all
David-
great choices.
David demonstrates to us how shapeshifting would work.
I think these are all great choices. But I think the best choice is Glacius.
I mean, Sub-Zero, you could try to throw the ice clone in front of the net, but the ice clone doesn't work, right? It doesn't function correctly.
Well, I
So
mean,
it
I would
not-
just
It wouldn't
he
do
could
it.
just manipulate the ice to raise,
No.
fill the net with ice, and no one could ever score.
Look,
See, that's
if you
clearly
if you
cheating.
pick, but if you try to pick Glacius, then we'll finally know. I'm not going to get into. I was just about to do a complete rundown, verbatim, of the video from the car in the gas station.
You sweated? Come
I'm not
on, that
gonna
was
do it.
great. It was I put it on the tee for you. It was
I
set
know
up.
you. I know you did. I know you did.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about anyways. Phil Rufio via Twitter asks, what were your favorite games and characters of the year and your worst? I mean, that's not a category that we have in our... We have favorite games, so let's leave games off of that.
We'll
Let's
definitely
talk about...
do that for our yearly wrap-up, which we'll do at the
The
beginning of next year.
old Ultra Awards.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. What's my character of the year? Who came out this year? That's I care about.
I mean, I don't think it has to be a new character, does it?
All right, then my answer is RoboCop.
Okay.
All right.
RoboCop.
My favorite character of the year is definitely Samus Aran in Metroid Dread.
Oh, I thought we were just sticking with fighting games here. Okay.
It just said video games. It didn't
It's
mention
true.
fighting
It's
games.
true. I mean, I was just going to say probably like Lucia because she really helped me get into Street Fighter V a lot more and really enjoy that game more to the degree that I wanted to, even though she pissed me off at first. But again, it was kind of that learning factor, right? Like I tried to play her in a way that she wasn't designed to be played, and I kept trying to shoehorn myself into that, and it was very educational to learn how to change my mindset on her and realize why she was designed the way she was, and to really kind of take advantage. So it was a lot of cool things. She helped me to learn Street Fighter V. She also, was an interesting character for me to learn how to look at character differently. So I think that was actually really cool.
That's a good pick.
Cool.
I go shooty shooty bang bang. All right,
JW Park via Twitter asks, would you rather live to be 200 years old but never find joy or happiness, or live to 20 but accomplish everything you've wanted to in life?
It would be horrible to do the first one, so clearly the answer is the second one.
I mean,
Well, let
I've
me tell
already...
you, David.
You got to spend 200 years not having a good time?
Listen, man, I've already spent 34 not having a good time. I'm pretty sure I could do 200.
False. You have definitely found joy and happiness. Now, we're all like trying to make more of that for each of us, but like you have
I've
found
had
some.
events. I've had some good stuff.
I'm not saying
happen.
I'm not saying it's been 100% fantastic tour, but like you have this is saying that you never find those things, and that would be really bad.
Tubo stole my answer, dude. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious that if you can accomplish everything ever in 20 years, then go for it.
Yeah, but what if my goal... Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to David this question.
Okay.
I'm going to lawyer this question.
Yeah.
I will pick the second option, but one of my main goals in life is to live to be 80 years old.
I see. Okay, I think that might be doable. Here's how it's doable. First of all, you have to get a rocket ship. And that rocket ship has to go really, really super fast. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to leave Earth. You're going to be on this rocket ship. It'll be going very quickly. And then you go back to Earth. And in that time, you will only have lived a little bit of time. And so you're still 20 years old. But you'll be 80 years old because that's how much time has actually passed. So in reality, this is doable. This is a doable thing, James. You can do this.
Yeah, but my second goal and one of my other goals in life is to never leave the planet.
Well, it's possible. It's possible. You would have to move very fast. That's all. So just figure out a way to go fast, but you don't necessarily.
And then another goal is to never move really, really fast.
Okay, then maybe you figure out a way to make everything else move a different speed and you yourself stay the same.
Actually be sick. Okay, I'm cool with that. All right.
That's what the Futurama ship does in Futurama. The universe moves around it. That's how they figured it out.
It's all doable. Is it likely? Is it?
If Futurama does it, it's got to be real.
For sure.
Dude, Futurama, the writers are geniuses.
Matthew Mangy via Twitter asks, the rollback wizard is at the upcoming Frosty Faustings to bestow good rollback on one of the games present there. He asks you to choose which one. Which do you choose?
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yep, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Soul Calibur 6.
Wow! Wow! I am like actually offended and hurt by this decision, James.
All right, how many more of these? We have like 4. All right, let's.
Next question. Alex via Twitter asks, a genie grants you every single wish you've had for a franchise of your choosing, but when asking for the wish, you forgot to mention the specific game. The genie, being a troll, applies your wish to your least favorite game of said franchise. Which franchise and game did you get?
Why are you trying to get us to hate on stuff?
I know, dude.
This whole thing is a setup to be like, what games do you hate so we can yell at you for it? I'm not answering this question. I don't hate any fighting games. I love them all. How about that? Actually, I take it back. Fantasy Strike sucks. I love all other fighting games.
Yo.
That game is trash, yo. Straight up.
I mean, my obvious answer is Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but there's probably another game that would actually take it over that one. But it's the one that I just don't bring up very often because I know too many people who worked on the game. Anyways, let's go to the next question here.
Can I get 2 other wishes from this genie? If so, I'm gonna make sure that the previous wish gets modified. All right, we move on.
And then the third wish would be humans.
Yes,
Humans,
obviously.
Quote via Discord asks, you are stuck in a time loop for a bracket in a game of your choice until you win that bracket. All the top players for that respective game are there. How many attempts will it take you to win till you win the bracket? Assume it is a 64-man double elimination bracket, so 7 to 10 sets must be won to exit the loop. Wait, 7 to 12?
I mean, I'm in there for years. Like, this takes me years, for sure. Years of my time. And, dude, years to get as good as any of them, and then years to just, like, get lucky in a way that would mean that I would make it past them, because I feel like that both would be necessary for me.
I feel like this question screwed itself, and I am very shocked that you didn't figure this out, David.
Okay,
you're in
go
a
on.
time loop.
Yeah.
If you're in a time loop, that means you're in a Groundhog Day situation.
Correct.
Which means if you go to the bracket, you play the same person the first round every single time, right?
I guess I could conceivably.
Even if you play Sonic Fox the first round, you know what they're gonna do every single time, and you can reverse engineer Groundhog's Day this shit. It would take me like a week at most. I would beat all of them. I would be out of there.
7 days?
Okay,
Not a
okay,
chance.
okay.
Easy peasy.
No,
Not a chance.
only if it might take 7 days, only if round 1 fight, he hit me, reset. Like, if you could reset it right there.
Yeah.
But if you're stuck playing the whole entire tournament, it'll take you forever.
It's gonna take a while.
It would take years.
I don't think it would take years. For one tournament? All
right, fine.
You're gonna remember the pattern of like 7 opponents?
Okay, fine.
You could.
Here, maybe, but here the real answer is that it would take 1 try from the perspective of everybody else.
That's true.
All right, humans, we move on.
Rocket
doesn't
Tavi Jordan via Discord asks, scientists have determined that all parts of this question are related via time and or space. How sensitive are you with regard to pronouncing names properly? I knew around 2004 from Kamagura's guides, rest in peace, how to pronounce names like Karin and Angel, but was surprised during the Twitch era that these things weren't common in use or knowledge at all, and have always found them important.
Look, it doesn't really matter to me that much. I like language a lot, and I think that like I'm no expert in it, but I like just enjoy knowing stuff about it. And I think that one aspect of that is that different people pronounce things differently and say things differently, and I'm totally on board with allowing for that. So, yeah, whether you say Karen or Kareen or whatever,
Ryu,
it doesn't bug me. Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Like,
not
I'm interested. In fact, if somebody comes out with a novel pronunciation that I haven't heard before, I'm like, I have to ask where you're from. Like, that's interesting.
I mean, like, for example, whenever I talk about Karin, in the context of like, oh yeah, Karin would be an interesting pick, blah 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 blah. But if I'm in the middle of commentating one of her matches, I just call her Karen, because it's just common and that's what most people will hear. And you don't want in the middle of commentary to make somebody go, what? Who are you talking about? Which is why I say yin and yang, if they're in a match. But if I'm talking about them outside of that, I'd say yin and yang. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I do it a little bit. I am kind of a stickler for pronouncing names correctly. But during commentary, I will go with the common, so I will say Rashid. Outside of that, sometimes I'll try to say Rashid, just to have it sound accurate, but that's just me, so it doesn't matter.
But even that name is pronounced differently in different countries by people whose
exactly.
native language is the language that comes from. So it's,
all right.
Whatever. We're all making it up as we go. That's how language is. Whatever.
What's the next one? Last one.
Last question's gonna make me mad, but here we go. The last question is Sabatar via Discord asks, have you ever seen the Aurora Borealis? If so, where?
I sure did. I sure have. Yes, twice. 2 times in my life have I seen the Aurora Borealis. Time number the first was actually in Los Angeles. It came down to LA one time. There was just a brief.
They're just stopping by. Quick vacation.
Yeah, no, there was whatever the occasion was. I had heard about it in advance, and I looked up at the sky, and it was very small, and it was happened to be a clear day. We just happened to be able to see it. It was just like one of those freak phenomena, and it was really small. As far as the true full-on, the lights are dancing in the sky, and it's like amazing. Yes, I've also seen that, and it was in Alaska. And it was like honestly just incredible. Like all the videos and pictures of it, it just blows them all out of the water. It was absolutely one of the things that I most wanted to see in life. It was like a goal of mine to be able to see that, and the fact that I did was something I'll never forget. Like I don't have a good memory, but like I absolutely remember being in. We went outside to try to see it. We couldn't see it. Went inside and we're going to sleep. And while I was lying on bed, I look out the window and lo and behold, the sky is dancing green. And we were like, wow, this isn't, we all got up, we all got outside. It was cold. We're in the middle of Alaska. And we stood out there for a couple hours, and a couple of guys like hopped on the back of a Jeep is my memory of just some dudes who lived in that city, and they were like, hey, we're just gonna go up to the top of the mountain, you guys want to come? And 2 of them were like, yeah, for sure. They went out there, and it was great. I didn't go, but anyway, I saw it, and it was honestly like just amazing. It was so beautiful, and I loved it. And all it took me was helping to kickstart the military's esports program. So nothing. I don't have mixed feelings about that at all. That's. Whew.
I have seen it once. I was very lucky. I was making steamed hams in my kitchen.
Oh, cool.
And there, all of a sudden, the Aurora Borealis at this time of year, at this time of night, appeared directly in my kitchen.
It was entirely located within your kitchen?
It was there. It was incredible.
So unlikely. Can I see it?
Absolutely not. No.
No? Are you sure? Because that would be really great to see.
Definitely. Nope. Sorry.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
Can't ruin the steamed hams. Anyways, yeah, that was a good time. James. All right, guys.
I was signed up to go to that Alaska Army trip, and I got co-opted by David, strangely enough, and he got to go, and that was something that I've always wanted to see in my life as well.
Yep.
And then after coming back, David's like, man, I really regret doing the Army thing because I don't want to support the Army. I really regret going now.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone. I mean, like, knowing what I know now, I shouldn't have gone. At the time, I felt it was questionable, to be honest, but I was like, there's a chance that I get to see this. It wasn't even in, like, deep winter time. Like, it wasn't actually a seasonal thing. And we just got super lucky. So I'm glad that worked out. But, yeah, in general,
so awesome
I would have undone that decision. Yeah.
That's great, David. Yeah, sure. You have undone that situation. Sure, yeah.
I would.
If a wizard could take you back in time to change something.
Humans.
That's probably not my first answer, to be honest with you, James. But yeah, I'm like, among my many other answers, yeah, I might change that.
I did eventually get to go to Alaska, but that was also in the middle of the summer, and it never got dark.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Whoa, I'm already out of here. As you can see, I'm melting. I have reverted into an impressionist painting yet again. Horrible things are crawling out of my mouth. It's just, it's quite a sight.
The stuff of nightmares.
Fix them anymore, dude.
No, don't bother. All right, let's bird them. Thanks for hanging out. Longer show than usual because we wanted to, again, make sure that we had that interview, but I think that went nicely. So shout outs to KingHippo again.
Bye, everybody.
I wonder if that's off rhythm for everybody else.